Suited connectors are hands of promise and patience, capable of hitting big straights and flushes, but just as often missing the board entirely. Tonight, we'll walk softly through their many layers, from careful folds to decisive semi-bluffs. Each situation will be explained carefully, showing why these hands deserve both respect and restraint. Let the lessons of suited connectors guide you calmly toward rest. Suited connectors, hands like 5-4 suited, 7-6 suited, and 9-8 suited, occupy a special place in poker strategy. They do not begin as premium hands, and they do not carry the raw immediate power of pocket pairs or Broadway aces. Instead, they offer possibility. They remind us that in Texas Hold'em, the cards you start with matter, but the story that develops across the flop, turn, and river matters even more. Their reputation has been built on potential, the chance to make strong straights, flushes, and disguised hands that can topple premium holdings. In this opening chapter, we'll lay out the roadmap for the journey ahead. We will introduce the many dimensions of suited connector play, preview the chapters that follow, and set the stage for how to approach them in a disciplined, profitable way. By the end of this introduction, you will know where we are headed: a calm, systematic study of suited connectors across pre-flop, post-flop, tournament, and cash game scenarios. Defining suited connectors. Suited connectors are two consecutive cards of the same suit, from 2-3 suited through Queen-Jack suited. While the lower ends of this spectrum are fragile and the higher ends approach the strength of Broadway holdings, they all share the same core trait: coordinated potential. They can create straights, flushes, straight flushes, and powerful disguised combinations. But they rarely hold value unimproved. Their true worth is realized in the right positions, with the right stack sizes, and against the right opponents. Pre-flop decisions. Throughout this video, we will carefully study how suited connectors behave in each seat around the table. In early position, where many players remain to act, they lose much of their profitability. Raising or calling too freely from under the gun can invite re-raises and leave you out of position. In middle position, their playability increases, allowing you to open more frequently, especially when table dynamics are passive. By late position, particularly on the button, they become powerful openers, capable of stealing blinds, applying pressure, and entering pots with positional advantage. We will also consider how suited connectors perform against 3-bets. Calling out of position can be dangerous, but in position, with deep stacks, suited connectors retain value. Occasionally, they can even serve as part of a balanced 4-bet bluffing strategy, chosen precisely because they are unlikely to be dominated and carry blocker effects. These adjustments, when to fold, when to call, when to raise, will form a major focus of our study. Stack depth and playability. The profitability of suited connectors changes drastically with stack size. At 100 big blinds or deeper, they thrive. Implied odds make calling raises worthwhile, since a strong straight or flush can win an opponent's entire stack. At 40 big blinds, their speculative power diminishes, as the reduced stack-to-pot ratio limits the reward for chasing draws. At 20 big blinds or less, they often collapse into fold or shove decisions, especially in tournaments, where survival matters as much as chip accumulation. We will dedicate later chapters to each of these stack scenarios, illustrating why deep stack poker is their natural home, and why short stack play often demands more restraint. Tournament contexts. Tournament poker adds another layer of complexity. In the early levels, deep stacks and small blinds make suited connectors excellent speculative holdings, particularly in multiway pots. In the middle stages, with antes and increased pressure, their role shifts toward blind stealing and re-stealing, sometimes becoming semi-bluff shove candidates. On the bubble, they can become powerful weapons, exploiting fold equity against cautious players trying to survive. At final tables, however, ICM pressure often makes them folds, even when they appear tempting. By studying each tournament stage, we will see how suited connectors adapt to structure, stack dynamics, and payout implications. Post-flop play. The post-flop world is where suited connectors live or die. When they miss completely, they often provide little more than high card strength. In these cases, discipline is required, knowing when to continuation bet, when to slow down, and when to surrender. When they connect with the board, however, they unlock their true value. Flush draws, straight draws, combo draws, and disguised made hands give them explosive equity. They allow for semi-bluffs that combine fold equity with the chance to improve, creating profitable aggression across flops and turns. We will cover how to extract value when draws complete, how to manage pot size when holding medium-strength results like bottom pair, and how to balance aggression with control in multi-way pots. Psychological and long-term lessons. Beyond the technical framework, suited connectors teach patience and discipline. Many players fall into the trap of overvaluing them, seeing potential where none exists, and investing chips without proper odds. Others grow frustrated after missed flops, tilting into unnecessary aggression. By studying suited connectors carefully, we learn to accept variance, to manage expectations, and to play the long game. These hands also illustrate poker's broader themes, that strategy is contextual, that equity is realized through discipline, and that small beginnings can yield large outcomes. Suited connectors remind us that poker is not a game of certainty, but a game of opportunity. Looking ahead. By the end of this journey, suited connectors will no longer feel like a mystery. You will know when to raise them, when to fold them, when to chase, and when to let go. You will see how they can win pots both with and without showdowns, and how they fit into a balanced, disciplined strategy. Suited connectors may not be premium hands, but they are deeply instructive ones. They teach us patience, timing, and the importance of position. They show us how speculative play can be disciplined play. And they remind us that in poker, possibility often matters as much as power. Suited connectors, such as 6-5 suited or 8-7 suited, are quintessential speculative hands in Texas Hold'em. These hands are not played for their immediate strength, but for their potential to develop into powerful combinations. They offer a unique opportunity to explore the strategic depths of poker, where the value is not in the cards themselves but in the possibilities they represent. Their speculative nature invites players to engage in a dance of calculated risks, where the thrill lies in the potential for high returns from seemingly modest beginnings. In poker strategy, speculative play involves entering a pot with a hand that has the potential to improve significantly. Suited connectors are prime candidates for this approach. They thrive on the potential to hit straights, flushes, or even straight flushes. Unlike high pairs or Broadway cards, which often rely on their inherent strength, suited connectors depend on the dynamics of the board and the ability to outmaneuver opponents post-flop. This speculative nature requires a keen understanding of implied odds, which are the potential future gains from a hand if it improves. Implied odds are a cornerstone of playing suited connectors effectively. When you hold a hand like 7-6 suited, the direct odds might not justify a call pre-flop. However, the implied odds, the potential to win large pots if you hit a straight or flush, make these hands worth considering in the right situations. The key is to recognize when the conditions are favorable for pursuing these draws. Deep stacks and passive opponents can enhance the implied odds, providing the cushion needed to chase draws without risking too much of your stack. The value of suited connectors is significantly influenced by situational factors, Position, for instance, plays a critical role. Being in a late position allows you to see how other players act before committing chips, giving you the advantage of more information. This positional awareness can turn speculative hands into profitable ventures, as you can better gauge the strength of your opponent's hands and decide whether to pursue your draw or fold. Additionally, the behavior of opponents, whether they are aggressive or passive, can dictate the viability of playing suited connectors. Against aggressive players, the potential for implied odds increases as they are more likely to bet heavily, providing opportunities to win large pots when your hand improves. Balancing aggression and caution is another essential aspect of playing suited connectors. While these hands offer the allure of big payouts, they can also lead to significant losses if not played judiciously. The risk versus reward equation is a constant consideration. Aggression can be profitable when you have a strong draw or when you can apply pressure on opponents who are likely to fold. However, caution is warranted when the board texture does not favor your hand, or when opponents show considerable strength. Recognizing when to shift gears between aggression and caution is a skill honed through experience and observation. Suited connectors also teach players the importance of discipline and patience. They require a willingness to fold when the conditions aren't right, and the ability to wait for the opportune moment to strike. This patience is rewarded when the right board develops, turning a speculative hand into a monster. The journey from speculation to realization is what makes playing suited connectors both challenging and rewarding. In summary, suited connectors embody the essence of speculative play in poker. They invite players to delve into the strategic layers of the game, where the potential for significant gains lies in the ability to read the table, assess implied odds, and balance aggression with caution. Understanding these dynamics is crucial for maximizing the potential of suited connectors and capitalizing on their unique place in poker strategy. Choosing to open with suited connectors from an early position in Texas Hold'em is a decision that requires careful thought and precision. In early position, you face the challenge of acting with limited information about your opponent's intentions. This makes the selection of suited connectors to open with crucial. Typically, stronger suited connectors, such as 9-8 suited or 10-9 suited, are preferable due to their higher potential to connect with the board in meaningful ways. These hands offer the chance to hit straights or flushes, providing the necessary strength to compete against potentially stronger holdings from opponents yet to act. Your table image plays a significant role when deciding to open with suited connectors from early position. If you've established a tight, disciplined image, your raises are more likely to be respected, allowing you to leverage your perceived strength. Conversely, if you've been playing loosely, opponents might be more inclined to challenge your raises, knowing you could be holding a speculative hand. Understanding how your table image influences opponents' perceptions is a key component in determining when to open with suited connectors. Player tendencies at the table also affect your decision-making process. Against opponents who are more passive, opening with suited connectors can be advantageous as it allows you to dictate the pace of play and potentially control the pot size. On the other hand, if you are surrounded by aggressive players, you might face more frequent raises and re-raises, making it more challenging to see a flop without committing a significant portion of your stack. Being mindful of these dynamics helps in assessing whether the risk of opening is justified. Bet sizing when opening with suited connectors from early position should be adjusted based on stack depth and opponent behavior. With deeper stacks, you have more room to maneuver post-flop, making it reasonable to open with a standard raise size that maintains fold equity while not overcommitting. In contrast, with shorter stacks, you must be more cautious, as committing too much can leave you vulnerable to re-raises that force difficult decisions. Observing how opponents respond to different bet sizes can provide valuable insights into their hand strength and intentions. The potential for post-flop play is where suited connectors can truly shine. When the flop presents favorable textures, such as coordinated cards that enhance your drawing potential, the opportunity to build a strong hand increases. Suited connectors thrive in situations where they can transform into straights or flushes, and recognizing these opportunities is vital. The ability to evaluate the board and identify potential draws allows you to exploit these situations effectively, often leading to profitable outcomes. However, the unpredictability of the board necessitates a flexible approach. If the flop does not connect well with your hand, maintaining discipline and being willing to fold is essential. This restraint ensures that you do not overcommit to a hand that lacks the necessary strength to compete. The key is to remain adaptable, ready to adjust your strategy based on the evolving dynamics of the hand and the actions of your opponents. In summary, opening suited connectors from early position is a nuanced decision that requires an understanding of multiple factors. From selecting the right hands to considering table image and player tendencies, each element influences the potential success of your play. Adjusting bet sizing and staying attuned to post-flop opportunities further enhances your ability to navigate these situations. By approaching these decisions with care and awareness, you can maximize the potential of suited connectors, turning speculative hands into profitable ventures. Raising with suited connectors from middle position in Texas Hold'em is a strategic move that can shift the dynamics of a hand in your favor. In this position, you have the advantage of observing the actions of early position players before making your decision. This allows you to assess the strength of the table and decide whether a raise is the most effective play. Suited connectors like 8-7 suited or 9-8 suited offer the potential to form powerful hands, such as straights and flushes. Raising with these hands can put pressure on your opponents, forcing them to make difficult decisions. Deciding when to raise versus call with suited connectors in middle position depends on several factors. If the players before you have shown weakness by limping or folding, a raise can capitalize on this and potentially take control of the pot. However, if there have been raises from early position, calling might be more prudent, allowing you to see the flop without committing too many chips. The key is to balance aggression with caution, ensuring that your actions are informed by the behavior of your opponents. Analyzing the table dynamics is crucial when playing suited connectors from middle position. Understanding the tendencies of your opponents can guide your strategy. If the players to your left are known for their aggressive 3-betting, you might opt for a more conservative approach, perhaps choosing to call rather than raise. Conversely, if the table is generally passive, a raise can help you seize the initiative and dictate the flow of the hand. Observing how your opponents react to different situations will enhance your ability to make informed decisions. Opponent ranges also play a significant role in your decision-making process. By considering the types of hands your opponents are likely to hold based on their actions, you can better assess the strength of your suited connectors. For instance, if an opponent frequently raises with a wide range of hands, your suited connectors may have more equity against their holdings. On the other hand, if an opponent is tight and only raises with premium hands, you may need to adjust your strategy accordingly, perhaps opting to call and see a flop rather than raising. Stack sizes are another critical factor to consider when raising with suited connectors from middle position. With a deep stack, you have more flexibility to maneuver post-flop, making it easier to apply pressure or extract value from your opponents. In contrast, with a shorter stack, you must be more selective with your raises, as committing too many chips can leave you vulnerable to aggressive plays from opponents. Being aware of your stack size and those of your opponents helps you tailor your strategy to the specific context of the hand. Post-flop play with suited connectors requires adaptability and a keen sense of observation. When the flop is favorable, presenting draws or strong possibilities, you can continue to apply pressure through betting or raising. This approach can force your opponents to make difficult decisions, often leading to folds or allowing you to build a larger pot when you hit your draws. However, if the flop is unfavorable, maintaining discipline and being willing to check or fold is essential. The ability to recognize when to shift gears and adjust your strategy based on the board texture and opponent actions is a hallmark of successful post-flop play. Facing various types of opponents, post-flop requires a nuanced approach. Against aggressive players, you might opt for a more passive strategy, allowing them to bet into you while you draw to your hand. Conversely, against passive opponents, taking the initiative with bets and raises can help you extract maximum value. Understanding the tendencies of your opponents and adjusting your play accordingly is key to maximizing the potential of suited connectors. In summary, raising with suited connectors from middle position involves a blend of strategic thinking, timing, and adaptability. By considering factors such as table dynamics, opponent ranges, and stack sizes, you can make informed decisions that enhance your chances of success. The ability to navigate post-flop scenarios with a flexible and observant approach further strengthens your play, allowing you to capitalize on the unique opportunities that suited connectors provide. Late position in Texas Hold'em provides a strategic advantage that can significantly enhance the playability of suited connectors. Sitting in late position means you have the benefit of observing the actions of most players at the table before making your move. This vantage point allows for a more informed decision-making process, as you can gauge the strength and tendencies of your opponents based on their previous actions. Suited connectors, such as 9-8 suited or 10-9 suited, become particularly valuable in this context, as they offer the potential for strong post-flop draws while maintaining a degree of deception. The benefits of late position extend beyond mere observation. This position allows you to control the pace of the hand, dictating the flow of action with calculated bets and raises. With suited connectors, this control is crucial, as it enables you to capitalize on their potential while minimizing risk. In late position, you can choose to raise or call based on the preceding actions, adjusting your strategy to exploit the weaknesses of your opponents. This flexibility is a key component of successful poker strategy, allowing you to adapt to the ever-changing dynamics of the table. When selecting suited connectors to play from late position, it's important to consider their potential for creating strong hands. Hands like 7-6 suited or 8-7 suited are ideal choices, as they can form straights and flushes with relative ease. These hands also provide the opportunity for disguised strength, catching opponents off guard when you hit your draw. The element of surprise is a powerful tool in poker, and suited connectors in late position offer plenty of it. Stealing blinds is another strategic advantage afforded by late position play. With fewer players left to act, the likelihood of facing a strong hand is reduced, making it easier to pick up the blinds uncontested. Raising with suited connectors in this scenario can apply pressure on the remaining players, forcing them to fold weaker hands and allowing you to scoop the pot without a fight. This tactic not only increases your chip stack, but also sets the tone for future hands, establishing your table image as aggressive and unpredictable. Manipulating opponents is a subtle art that can be mastered through consistent late position play. By observing their reactions to your raises and bets, you can identify patterns in their behavior and adjust your strategy accordingly. If an opponent frequently folds to aggression, you can exploit this tendency by raising more often with suited connectors. Conversely, if an opponent tends to call down light, you may choose to slow play your strong hands, extracting maximum value when you hit your draws. Aggression plays a pivotal role in maximizing the potential of suited connectors from late position. By taking the initiative with well-timed raises and bets, you can dictate the terms of the hand and force your opponents into difficult decisions. This aggressive approach not only increases your chances of winning the pot outright, but also sets you up for future success by reinforcing your image as a formidable player. The key is to balance this aggression with caution, ensuring that your actions are supported by a solid understanding of the table dynamics and the tendencies of your opponents. In summary, late position offers a wealth of strategic opportunities for playing suited connectors effectively. By leveraging the information at your disposal and employing a calculated mix of aggression and manipulation, you can maximize the potential of these hands and enhance your overall poker strategy. The ability to adapt to the unique challenges and opportunities presented by late position play is a hallmark of successful players, allowing them to thrive in the dynamic world of Texas Hold'em. Facing a 3-bet with suited connectors requires a blend of courage, calculation, and keen observation. When you hold a hand like 8-7 suited and encounter a 3-bet, the first task is to assess the strength of your hand against the range of hands your opponent might hold. Suited connectors, while not premium hands, offer potential for strong post-flop draws. However, their value diminishes against the more robust holdings typically associated with 3-bets, such as high pairs or strong Broadway cards. This reality necessitates a careful evaluation of whether the potential for a straight or flush outweighs the immediate strength of your opponent's likely hand. One of the primary factors to consider in these situations is the tendencies of your opponent. An aggressive player who frequently 3-bets may be doing so with a wider range, including weaker hands that your suited connectors can exploit. Conversely, a tight player who only 3-bets with premium hands poses a greater threat, as their range is likely to dominate your suited connectors. Recognizing these tendencies can guide your decision to either continue with the hand or fold. Stack sizes also play a crucial role in your decision-making process. With a deep stack, you have the flexibility to call a 3-bet and see a flop, utilizing the implied odds that come with suited connectors. The potential to win a large pot if you hit your draw justifies the risk of calling the 3-bet. However, with a shorter stack, the cost of calling a 3-bet becomes more significant, as it represents a larger portion of your total chips. In such cases, the decision to fold becomes more appealing, unless you have a strong read on your opponent's tendencies. When deciding whether to fold, call, or 4-bet, consider the dynamics of the table and your position. Folding is often the safest option, particularly against tight opponents or when out of position. Calling allows you to see a flop and potentially capitalize on the drawing power of your suited connectors. This option is more viable when you have position on your opponent, as it provides you with the advantage of acting last on subsequent betting rounds. The decision to 4-bet with suited connectors is a bold move that requires a deep understanding of the table dynamics and your opponent's behavior. This play is most effective against opponents who are capable of folding to aggression. By representing a strong hand yourself, you can induce a fold and take down the pot without seeing a flop. However, this strategy carries significant risk, as your opponent may respond with a 5-bet or call, leaving you in a challenging position with a speculative hand. Position is a critical factor in the 3-bet scenario. Being in position allows you to gather more information about your opponent's actions before committing additional chips to the pot. It provides the opportunity to control the flow of the hand and make more informed decisions on later streets. Out of position, you're at a disadvantage, as your opponent can dictate the pace of the hand and force you into difficult situations. Ultimately, facing a 3-bet with suited connectors is a test of your ability to balance aggression with caution. By carefully evaluating your opponent's tendencies, stack sizes, and position, you can navigate these challenging situations with confidence. The key is to remain adaptable, adjusting your strategy based on the unique circumstances of each hand. Executing a 4-bet bluff with suited connectors requires a keen understanding of poker dynamics and the courage to take calculated risks. Suited connectors, such as 9-8 suited or 7-6 suited, offer potential for strong post-flop draws. However, they are not inherently strong pre-flop hands. The decision to 4-bet bluff with these hands hinges on several key factors, including opponent tendencies, table dynamics, and your own table image. The first factor to consider is the table dynamics. A table that is generally tight and cautious provides a fertile ground for a 4-bet bluff. If opponents tend to fold to aggression, the likelihood of a successful bluff increases. Conversely, at a table where players frequently call or re-raise, the risk of a 4-bet bluff increases significantly. Understanding the general mood and play style of the table is crucial before attempting such a move. Player reads are equally important. Identifying opponents who are capable of folding to a 4-bet is essential. Look for players who have previously shown a tendency to fold to aggression, especially those who seem to play conservatively after being 3-bet. These players are often more susceptible to folding when faced with a 4-bet. Additionally, consider the opponent who made the initial 3-bet. If they are known to 3-bet light, they might not have a hand strong enough to withstand further aggression. The ideal scenario for a 4-bet bluff with suited connectors often involves holding position over your opponent. Being in position allows you to dictate the pace of the hand and gather more information based on your opponent's actions. It also provides the advantage of being able to make more informed decisions on subsequent streets. Out of position, the risk of a 4-bet bluff increases, as you have less control over the hand and must act before gathering additional information. Another crucial factor is your own table image. If you have been playing tightly and conservatively, your 4-bet bluff is more likely to be respected. Opponents may perceive you as having a strong hand, increasing the chance they will fold. On the other hand, if you have been playing aggressively or have been caught bluffing frequently, your 4-bet might not carry the same weight, and opponents may be more inclined to call or re-raise. Balancing aggression with the risk of losing chips is essential when considering a 4-bet bluff. The potential reward of winning the pot pre-flop must be weighed against the cost of losing additional chips if your bluff is called or re-raised. It is important to have a plan for the hand if your opponent calls the 4-bet. Consider how you will proceed on various flop textures and whether you have the discipline to abandon the bluff if the situation becomes unfavorable. In summary, the decision to execute a 4-bet bluff with suited connectors is a complex one that requires careful consideration of multiple factors. By analyzing table dynamics, player tendencies, and your own table image, you can make an informed decision that maximizes the potential for success while minimizing risk. The art of the 4-bet bluff is a powerful tool in a poker player's arsenal, capable of turning the tide of a game when executed with precision and insight. Flat calling raises with suited connectors, such as 8-7 suited or 6-5 suited, can appear alluring due to the potential of flopping strong draws or even made hands. However, this strategy can lead players into precarious situations. The primary danger lies in the lack of initiative and control over the hand, which can result in challenging post-flop decisions. When you flat call, you are essentially allowing the original raiser to maintain the lead in the hand, dictating the pace, and often forcing you to react rather than act. The pitfalls of flat calling are numerous. One major issue is the difficulty in extracting value when you do hit a strong hand. Since you are not the aggressor, opponents may not commit as many chips to the pot, fearing the strength of your hand. This can lead to situations where you have a strong hand, but are unable to maximize its value. Additionally, by flat calling, you allow other players behind you to enter the pot, increasing the likelihood of facing multiple opponents post-flop. This scenario can diminish the value of your suited connectors, as they perform better in heads-up situations where their potential draws are more likely to hold up. Analyzing the potential outcomes of flat calling is crucial. One possible outcome is flopping a weak draw or marginal hand. In such cases, you may find yourself in a difficult spot, unsure whether to continue with the hand or fold to further aggression. Without the initiative, opponents can apply pressure, forcing you to make tough decisions with incomplete information. Another outcome is hitting a strong draw or hand, such as a flush or straight draw. While this is ideal, the challenge remains in extracting maximum value, as mentioned earlier, since you are not the aggressor. Several situational factors influence the decision to call or raise with suited connectors. One key factor is the position. Being in position allows you to gather more information about your opponent's actions before you have to make a decision. This can mitigate some of the risks associated with flat calling, as you can better assess the strength of your hand relative to the board and your opponent's actions. Conversely, being out of position makes it more challenging to navigate the hand, as you must act first without knowing how your opponents will respond. The tendencies of your opponents also play a significant role. If you are facing a tight aggressive player who raises from early position, flat calling might not be the best strategy, as their range is likely strong. On the other hand, if the raise comes from a loose aggressive player who frequently opens a wide range of hands, flat calling can be more viable, as their range is weaker, and you can potentially outplay them post-flop. To mitigate the risks associated with flat calling, consider employing strategies that enhance your position in the hand. One approach is to mix in occasional raises or 3-bets with your suited connectors, especially against opponents who are prone to folding to aggression. This can help balance your range and keep opponents guessing, allowing you to take control of the hand. Additionally, focusing on post-flop play is crucial. Be prepared to make disciplined folds when necessary, particularly if the board does not favor your hand, or if you face significant aggression. Understanding the dynamics of flat calling, raises with suited connectors, involves recognizing the inherent risks and adjusting your strategy accordingly. By carefully considering factors such as position, opponent tendencies, and the potential outcomes of your decisions, you can navigate these situations more effectively. The key lies in maintaining a balance between aggression and caution, ensuring that you maximize the potential of your suited connectors, while minimizing the dangers that come with flat calling. Suited connectors and small pocket pairs are two intriguing categories of starting hands in Texas Hold'em. Each presents distinct opportunities and challenges, shaping a player's approach to various stages of the game. Suited connectors, such as 8-7 suited or 9-8 suited, offer the potential to form straights and flushes, while small pocket pairs, like pocket 3s or pocket 4s, provide the chance to hit a set. Both hand types occupy a middle ground in the spectrum of poker hands, neither as strong as premium pairs, nor as weak as unconnected low cards. Understanding their characteristics can guide players in making strategic decisions. Suited connectors thrive on their ability to develop into strong drawing hands. Their value lies in the potential for hitting a straight or flush, which can catch opponents off guard and lead to substantial pots. These hands are particularly effective in situations where players can see the flop at a low cost, allowing them to evaluate their potential without committing too many chips. Small pocket pairs, on the other hand, offer the allure of set mining. When a pocket pair connects with the board to form a set, it often becomes a dominant hand, capable of winning significant pots against unsuspecting opponents. The situational advantages of suited connectors versus small pocket pairs vary depending on the stage of play. In the early stages of a tournament or cash game, both hand types can be played with caution. Suited connectors benefit from their ability to see multi-way flops, where their drawing potential can be maximized. Small pocket pairs, meanwhile, are often played with the intention of hitting a set and extracting value from opponents who may hold over pairs or top pair. As the game progresses and stacks deepen, the implied odds of both hand types become more significant. Implied odds play a crucial role in the decision-making process for both suited connectors and small pocket pairs. Suited connectors rely on the potential to win large pots when they hit their draws. The ability to extract maximum value from unsuspecting opponents is a key factor in their profitability. Small pocket pairs with their set mining potential also depend on implied odds. The goal is to win a big pot when the set is hit, often by trapping opponents who are committed with strong but inferior hands. Strategies for playing suited connectors effectively involve leveraging position and understanding opponent tendencies. In late position, suited connectors can be used to apply pressure, especially in situations where opponents have shown weakness. The ability to semi-bluff with suited connectors is a powerful tool, allowing players to represent strength while retaining the potential to improve. Small pocket pairs, conversely, are often played more passively, pre-flop, with an emphasis on seeing flops cheaply and assessing the potential for hitting a set. Post-flop, the strategy shifts to maximizing value from opponents who may underestimate the strength of a set. In terms of playability, suited connectors offer more flexibility across different board textures. They can connect with a variety of flops, offering both drawing and bluffing opportunities. Small pocket pairs, while more straightforward in their approach, require specific conditions to maximize their potential. The decision to play suited connectors or small pocket pairs often hinges on the player's position, stack size, and the tendencies of opponents at the table. Understanding these dynamics allows players to tailor their strategies, choosing the hand type that best suits the situation. Both suited connectors and small pocket pairs have their place in a well-rounded poker strategy. Recognizing the strengths and limitations of each can enhance a player's ability to navigate the complexities of the game. By appreciating the nuanced differences between these hand types, players can make informed decisions that capitalize on their potential, leading to more successful outcomes at the table. With a stack depth of 100 big blinds, suited connectors present a unique blend of potential and complexity. These hands, such as 7-6 suited or 9-8 suited, thrive in situations where players have room to maneuver and explore various strategic paths. At this depth, the game becomes a canvas for creativity, allowing players to leverage their stack size to extract maximum value from their suited connectors. The ability to navigate deep stack dynamics effectively can be the difference between a modest gain and a significant chip accumulation. Position is a crucial factor when playing suited connectors with deep stacks. Being in a late position offers the advantage of observing opponents' actions before making a decision. This information allows players to tailor their approach, deciding whether to play aggressively or take a more cautious route. In contrast, early position requires a more conservative strategy, as the lack of information about opponents' intentions can lead to precarious situations. Recognizing the importance of position helps players make informed decisions, balancing the potential of suited connectors with the risks involved. Table dynamics also play a pivotal role in how suited connectors are approached at this stack depth. Understanding the tendencies of opponents is essential. Against passive players, suited connectors can be used to apply pressure, exploiting their reluctance to engage in aggressive play. Conversely, against aggressive opponents, a more measured approach may be necessary, waiting for the right moment to capitalize on their overzealous tendencies. Adapting to the table's overall mood and flow can enhance the effectiveness of suited connectors, transforming them into powerful tools for chip accumulation. Aggression must be calibrated based on stack depth and opponent behavior. With 100 big blinds, players have the flexibility to engage in strategic aggression, using suited connectors to probe and pressure opponents. This approach involves raising pre-flop to build the pot and create opportunities for post-flop play. However, it's important to remain aware of the stack sizes of opponents. Facing a player with a significantly smaller stack might require a different strategy, as their willingness to commit chips can vary. Adjusting aggression to align with the table's dynamics ensures that players maintain control over the action. Post-flop play with suited connectors at this depth is where the hand's potential truly shines. The ability to see the flop and evaluate the board texture is invaluable. Suited connectors can connect with a variety of flops, offering both drawing and bluffing opportunities. When the flop presents a strong draw, such as an open-ended straight or a flush draw, players can continue their aggression, betting to build the pot and apply pressure on opponents. The potential to semi-bluff is a powerful tool, allowing players to represent strength while retaining the chance to improve. Maximizing value with suited connectors post-flop involves careful consideration of the board and opponent tendencies. When the board texture is favorable, indicating a strong draw or made hand, players can increase their bet sizing to extract maximum value from opponents who may hold weaker hands. Conversely, when the board is less favorable, a more cautious approach may be warranted, evaluating the potential for opponents to hold stronger hands. The ability to adjust strategies based on the evolving dynamics of the game is key to capitalizing on the potential of suited connectors. In conclusion, playing suited connectors with a stack depth of 100 big blinds offers a wealth of opportunities for strategic play. By leveraging position, adapting to table dynamics, and calibrating aggression, players can navigate the complexities of deep stack poker effectively. The potential for post-flop play further enhances the value of suited connectors, allowing players to extract maximum value and build their chip stack. Recognizing the nuances of these hands at this depth can lead to more successful outcomes and a deeper appreciation for the strategic depth of the game. With a stack depth of 40 big blinds, suited connectors like 6-5 suited and 8-7 suited offer a dynamic blend of potential and risk. At this stack size, the game shifts from the deep stack strategies, requiring a more nuanced approach to aggression and caution. Players must carefully select which suited connectors to play, as the margin for error becomes slimmer. The choice often depends on the table position and the tendencies of opponents, making it crucial to stay observant and adaptable. Position plays a critical role when deciding to play suited connectors at 40 big blinds. In late position, the ability to see how opponents act before making a decision provides a significant advantage. This information allows players to choose whether to enter the pot aggressively or take a more conservative approach. In contrast, playing from an early position demands a more cautious strategy. The lack of information about opponents' hands and intentions can make it challenging to navigate post-flop scenarios. Therefore, it's often wise to tighten up the range of suited connectors played from these seats, focusing on higher value hands like 9-8 suited or 10-9 suited. Adjusting bet sizing is essential to maintain fold equity and control the pot when playing suited connectors at this stack depth. A well-sized pre-flop raise can effectively thin the field, reducing the number of opponents and making post-flop play more manageable. This strategy is particularly effective when facing players with similar or smaller stack sizes, as they may be less inclined to call without a strong hand. However, it's important to avoid overcommitting chips in marginal situations, as the stack depth does not allow for significant recovery if a large pot is lost. Post-flop play with suited connectors at 40 big blinds requires a keen understanding of board texture and opponent tendencies. When the flop presents a favorable draw, such as a straight or flush draw, players can continue their aggression, betting to build the pot and apply pressure on opponents. The ability to semi-bluff is a valuable tactic, allowing players to represent strength while retaining the chance to improve their hand. Conversely, if the flop is unfavorable, it's often prudent to exercise caution, evaluating the potential for opponents to hold stronger hands and adjusting the strategy accordingly. Drawing opportunities with suited connectors are abundant, but they must be approached with care at this stack depth. The potential to hit a straight or flush can be enticing, yet players must remain disciplined, avoiding the temptation to chase draws without the appropriate pot odds. Calculating pot odds and implied odds is crucial, as it helps determine whether a call is justified based on the potential payoff. This disciplined approach ensures that players do not bleed chips unnecessarily, preserving their stack for more favorable situations. In multi-way pots, suited connectors can still be effective, though the dynamics become more complex. The presence of additional players increases the likelihood of encountering strong hands, necessitating a more cautious approach. Position becomes even more critical, as it allows players to gather information and make informed decisions. When in position, players can exploit the actions of others, using their suited connectors to apply pressure and potentially steal the pot. Ultimately, playing suited connectors at 40 big blinds requires a balance of aggression and caution. By carefully selecting which hands to play, adjusting bet sizing, and employing strategic post-flop play, players can maximize the potential of these hands while minimizing risks. The ability to adapt to the shifting dynamics of the game is key, ensuring that players remain competitive and capable of navigating the challenges of this stack depth. Short stack play in poker typically refers to situations where a player has a stack size of around 20 big blinds or less. In these scenarios, the room for maneuver is limited, and decisions must be made with precision and intent. Suited connectors, such as 6-5 suited or 7-8 suited, can be powerful tools in a short stack arsenal. They offer the potential for strong draws and can be used effectively to apply pressure or defend against aggression. However, the margin for error is slim, and each decision must be weighed carefully. One of the primary considerations when playing suited connectors with a short stack is the decision to push all in or fold. The push or fold strategy simplifies decision-making and reduces the complexity of post-flop play, which is advantageous when chip stacks are low. Suited connectors can be ideal candidates for this strategy, especially when there is potential for fold equity. Fold equity refers to the likelihood that opponents will fold to an all-in bet, allowing the short-stacked player to win the pot without a showdown. This is particularly effective against opponents who are risk-averse or have medium-strength hands. Position plays a crucial role in short-stack scenarios. Being in late position allows a player to observe the actions of others before making a decision. This information is invaluable, as it helps determine the strength of opponents' hands and the likelihood of them calling an all-in bet. When in late position, a player can push all in with suited connectors if the action has folded to them, leveraging their position to maximize fold equity. Conversely, pushing from an early position is riskier, as there are more players left to act who could potentially call with stronger hands. Table dynamics also influence short stack play with suited connectors. Understanding the tendencies of opponents is key to making informed decisions. If the table is tight and players are folding frequently, pushing all in with suited connectors can be a profitable move, capitalizing on opponents' reluctance to call without premium hands. On the other hand, if the table is loose and players are calling frequently, it may be wise to tighten up and wait for a stronger hand or a more opportune moment to push. Maximizing fold equity with suited connectors requires strategic bet sizing and timing. When pushing all in, the bet should be large enough to put pressure on opponents, making it difficult for them to call without a strong hand. However, it should not be so large that it commits too many chips unnecessarily. The goal is to find a balance that maximizes the chance of opponents folding while preserving as many chips as possible for future hands. In high-pressure situations, maintaining composure is essential. The tension of short-stack play can lead to impulsive decisions, but it is crucial to remain disciplined and patient. Recognizing when to fold and conserve chips is just as important as knowing when to push all in. By carefully evaluating the strength of suited connectors, the position at the table, and the behavior of opponents, players can make calculated decisions that enhance their chances of survival and success. Short-stack play with suited connectors demands a strategic approach, balancing aggression with caution. The ability to read the table and adapt to changing dynamics is vital. By leveraging fold equity, understanding positional advantages, and making informed decisions, players can navigate the challenges of short-stack scenarios and capitalize on the potential of suited connectors. Every decision carries weight, and the key to success lies in the careful consideration of all available information and the disciplined execution of strategy. In Texas Hold'em, the approach to playing suited connectors varies significantly between tournament and cash game settings. These differences stem from the unique structures and dynamics inherent to each format. In tournaments, players face increasing blinds and antes, which create an environment where stack preservation and strategic aggression are crucial. Conversely, cash games offer a more stable structure, allowing players to rebuy and play with deeper stacks, thus influencing their decision-making processes. In tournaments, the blind levels increase at regular intervals, creating pressure on players to accumulate chips or risk being blinded out. This dynamic necessitates an adaptive strategy, where suited connectors can be leveraged for their potential to build a stack without committing too many chips pre-flop. The escalating blinds and changing stack sizes force players to assess the risk-reward ratio carefully. Suited connectors, like 8-7 suited or 9-8 suited, are often played with an eye towards implied odds, where the potential to win a large pot compensates for the risk of entering with a speculative hand. Players must remain vigilant, balancing the need to conserve chips with the opportunity to capitalize on favorable situations. In cash games, the static nature of blinds allows for a more patient and calculated approach. Players can afford to wait for ideal scenarios to play suited connectors, as the lack of escalating pressure from blinds means there is no immediate threat of elimination. The ability to rebuy in cash games also influences strategy, as players can take calculated risks knowing they have the option to replenish their stack. This environment encourages a more aggressive stance with suited connectors, particularly when deep stacked, as the potential for drawing to strong hands like straights and flushes can justify the initial investment. The distinction in stack sizes between tournaments and cash games further shapes the strategy for suited connectors. In tournaments, the effective stack size is often smaller due to the increasing blinds, which can limit post-flop maneuverability. Players must be more selective about when to engage with suited connectors, often opting for situations where they can exploit fold equity or when their stack can support aggressive post-flop play. In contrast, cash games typically involve deeper stacks, allowing for more creative and flexible play. Players can engage in multi-street bluffs or pursue draws with greater freedom, knowing that their stack depth offers room for recovery if the hand does not develop as planned. Adjusting risk tolerance is another critical factor when playing suited connectors in these two formats. In tournaments, the finite nature of chips means that each decision carries significant weight, and players must be mindful of their tournament life. This often results in a more conservative approach, where players seek to minimize variance and avoid unnecessary risks. Suited connectors are played with caution, often in late position or against opponents with predictable tendencies. In cash games, the risk tolerance can be higher, as the ability to rebuy mitigates the consequences of losing a hand. Players may choose to engage in more speculative play with suited connectors, using them to apply pressure and exploit opponents' weaknesses. Psychological factors also play a role in how suited connectors are approached in tournaments versus cash games. In tournaments, the looming threat of elimination can create anxiety, leading players to tighten their range and play more defensively. The pressure of advancing through the stages and reaching the money can influence decision-making, prompting players to rely on suited connectors in situations where they can exploit opponents' fear of busting. In cash games, the psychological landscape is different, with players often more relaxed and willing to experiment with their play. The absence of tournament pressure allows for a freer style, where suited connectors can be used to test opponents and create dynamic, unpredictable situations. Understanding these distinctions is crucial for players looking to maximize their effectiveness with suited connectors. By recognizing the unique challenges and opportunities presented by each format, players can tailor their strategies to align with the demands of the game. Whether navigating the pressure of a tournament or the freedom of a cash game, the ability to adapt and make informed decisions with suited connectors can significantly enhance a player's overall success. In the early stages of a poker tournament, suited connectors, such as 7-6 suited or 8-7 suited, offer players a unique opportunity to build their stacks while maintaining a strategic edge. These hands, though not premium, hold the potential to develop into powerful combinations like straights and flushes. The early phase of a tournament is characterized by relatively deep stacks and lower blind levels, providing the perfect environment for speculative hands to thrive. Players can afford to take calculated risks, knowing that the cost of entry is minimal compared to the possible rewards. Opening with suited connectors in the early stages requires a careful assessment of the table dynamics. Recognizing the tendencies of opponents is crucial. Observing whether they play tightly or loosely can inform the decision to enter a pot with suited connectors. A table full of passive players may present an opportunity to see flops cheaply, while a more aggressive table might necessitate a more cautious approach. Understanding these dynamics allows players to adjust their level of aggression accordingly, ensuring they capitalize on favorable situations while avoiding unnecessary risks. Table image plays a significant role in how suited connectors are perceived and played in early tournament stages. Establishing a solid table image can influence opponents' reactions, potentially allowing for more profitable plays. If a player is perceived as tight and disciplined, opponents may be more likely to fold to aggression, even when holding moderately strong hands. Conversely, a loose image might invite more calls, requiring a shift in strategy to ensure value is extracted when suited connectors hit their draws. Adjusting aggression based on table dynamics is essential when playing suited connectors early in a tournament. In situations where opponents are tight and risk-averse, increasing aggression with suited connectors can be a viable strategy. This approach can pressure opponents to fold, allowing the player to pick up pots without seeing a flop. However, against loose or aggressive opponents, a more cautious approach may be warranted. Here, the focus shifts to seeing flops and leveraging the potential of suited connectors to hit strong draws. Post-flop play with suited connectors requires a keen understanding of board textures and opponent tendencies. When suited connectors connect with the flop, either by hitting a pair, a straight draw, or a flush draw, players must decide how best to extract value. Betting for value when holding a strong draw can build the pot and set up for larger bets on later streets. Conversely, when the flop is unfavorable, players may need to employ bluffing strategies, representing stronger hands to induce folds from opponents. Maximizing value with suited connectors, post-flop involves careful consideration of pot odds and implied odds. Calculating the likelihood of completing a draw against the potential payout if successful is vital. This calculation helps determine whether to continue investing in the hand or to fold and conserve chips for future opportunities. Additionally, recognizing opponents' betting patterns and adjusting strategies accordingly can enhance the effectiveness of post-flop play. In early tournament play, the balance between aggression and caution with suited connectors is delicate. Players must remain adaptable, adjusting their strategies based on evolving table dynamics and opponent behaviors. By doing so, they can optimize their chances of building a substantial stack while minimizing unnecessary risks. This strategic flexibility, combined with a solid understanding of suited connectors' potential, can set the foundation for a successful tournament run. In the mid-stage of a poker tournament, stack sizes and blind levels become pivotal elements that influence how suited connectors, such as 9-8 suited or 6-5 suited, should be played. As the blinds increase, the cost of entering pots rises, making each decision more significant. Players must carefully assess their stack in relation to the blinds to determine the most effective strategy. A deep stack relative to the blinds offers the flexibility to play suited connectors with more aggression, allowing for speculative plays that can capitalize on the potential to hit strong post-flop hands. Conversely, a shorter stack may necessitate a more conservative approach, focusing on chip preservation and selecting spots where the potential reward justifies the risk. When considering the use of suited connectors against varying opponents in mid-stage play, understanding opponent tendencies becomes crucial. Against tight players, suited connectors can be used to exploit their conservative nature. By applying pressure pre-flop and on the flop, players can force folds from opponents who are unwilling to commit chips without premium holdings. This strategy allows for the accumulation of chips without the need for showdown. In contrast, against loose or aggressive opponents, suited connectors can serve as a trap hand. By calling their bets and seeing flops, players can capitalize on the potential of suited connectors to hit strong draws, leveraging the aggressiveness of opponents to extract maximum value when the board cooperates. Independent chip model, ICM considerations, add another layer of complexity to mid-stage tournament play with suited connectors. ICM places value on chip preservation, especially as the tournament progresses and payouts become more significant. Players must weigh the potential gain of a risky play against the impact of losing chips on their tournament life. In situations where the risk of elimination outweighs the potential reward, it may be prudent to fold suited connectors, even when they appear promising. Conversely, when the potential to gain chips significantly enhances a player's position in the tournament, taking calculated risks with suited connectors can be justified. Post-flop tactics with suited connectors in mid-stage play require a careful balance of aggression and caution. When suited connectors connect with the board, either by hitting a pair, a straight draw, or a flush draw, players should consider the most effective way to extract value. Betting for value when holding a strong draw can build the pot and set up for larger bets on future streets. However, players must remain vigilant of opponents' tendencies and betting patterns, adjusting their strategy to protect their stack against potential aggression. Bluffing can be an effective tactic when the board texture allows, representing stronger hands to induce folds from opponents holding marginal hands. Maximizing value with suited connectors, post-flop involves understanding pot odds and implied odds. Calculating the likelihood of completing a draw against the potential payout, if successful, helps determine whether to continue investing in the hand or to fold. Recognizing opponents' betting patterns and adjusting strategies accordingly can enhance the effectiveness of post-flop play. In situations where opponents are likely to fold to aggression, maintaining pressure can lead to profitable outcomes. The mid-stage dynamics of a tournament require players to remain adaptable, adjusting their strategies based on evolving table dynamics and opponent behaviors. By doing so, they can optimize their chances of building a substantial stack while minimizing unnecessary risks. This strategic flexibility, combined with a solid understanding of suited connectors' potential, can set the foundation for a successful tournament run. Understanding these dynamics and applying them effectively can lead to a deeper appreciation for the art of poker and the strategic depth it offers. As the final table begins, the atmosphere shifts. The stakes are higher, and every decision carries weight. Suited connectors, such as 7-6 suited or Jack-10 suited, take on a new dimension of strategic importance. At this stage, understanding the nuances of these hands becomes crucial. Players must navigate the complexities of the independent chip model ICM and payout structures, which significantly influence decision-making. ICM emphasizes the importance of chip preservation, as each chip lost can have a profound impact on a player's tournament life. The potential payouts create a delicate balance between risk and reward, urging players to weigh each decision carefully. Position becomes a critical factor at the final table. Suited connectors can be powerful tools when played from late positions, where players have the advantage of observing their opponent's actions before making their own decisions. This positional awareness allows for more informed choices, such as when to apply pressure or when to exercise caution. In contrast, playing suited connectors from early positions requires a more conservative approach, as the lack of information increases the risk of running into stronger hands. Understanding the dynamics of position and how it impacts the playability of suited connectors is essential for success at the final table. The psychological pressure at the final table is intense. Players must manage their emotions and maintain focus, as any lapse in concentration can be costly. Suited connectors, with their potential for strong post-flop draws, offer opportunities to capitalize on opponents' mistakes. However, players must be wary of overcommitting to these hands, especially when facing aggressive opponents. Balancing aggression with caution is key. A well-timed bluff with suited connectors can force opponents to fold better hands, but reckless aggression can lead to significant chip loss. Table dynamics also play a pivotal role in shaping the strategy for suited connectors. Observing opponents' tendencies and adapting accordingly can provide a strategic edge. Against tight players, suited connectors can be used to apply pressure, exploiting their reluctance to engage without premium hands. Conversely, against aggressive players, these hands can be used to trap and extract value when the board is favorable. Recognizing these dynamics and adjusting strategies to exploit them can enhance a player's chances of success. The final table's payout structure adds another layer of complexity. As players are eliminated, the remaining participants move closer to the top payouts. This progression intensifies the pressure to make optimal decisions with suited connectors. The potential for significant financial gain must be weighed against the risk of elimination. Players must assess whether the potential reward of a bold play justifies the risk of losing chips. Sometimes, folding a promising hand like suited connectors is the correct decision when considering the long-term tournament implications. In critical moments, leveraging position and table dynamics becomes paramount. Players must remain vigilant, constantly evaluating the evolving landscape of the table. Suited connectors can be used to seize opportunities, creating pressure and dictating the pace of play. By maintaining awareness of opponents' tendencies and adjusting strategies accordingly, players can maximize the potential of these hands. Balancing aggression with caution is essential under the intense pressure of the final table. Suited connectors offer the potential for significant gains, but they also carry inherent risks. Players must exercise discipline, recognizing when to capitalize on opportunities and when to exercise restraint. This balance, combined with a keen understanding of position and table dynamics, can lead to success at the final table, where every decision could be the difference between victory and defeat. In tournament poker, the bubble stage is a pivotal moment where the pressure mounts as players approach the money. This phase occurs just before the payouts begin, creating a tense atmosphere as everyone strives to avoid elimination and secure a return on their investment. Suited connectors, such as 8-7 suited or 9-8 suited, become particularly intriguing during this stage. They can be leveraged to exploit the cautious nature of opponents who are eager to avoid busting out before reaching the money. During the bubble, many players adopt a conservative approach, tightening their ranges to preserve their tournament life. This tendency creates an opportunity for those willing to take calculated risks with suited connectors. By recognizing when opponents are playing passively, players can apply pressure with well-timed raises or re-raises. The goal is to capitalize on the fear of elimination, forcing opponents to fold hands they might otherwise play in less critical situations. Fold equity becomes a crucial concept during bubble play, with suited connectors. This refers to the likelihood that a bet or raise will cause opponents to fold, allowing a player to win the pot without a showdown. Suited connectors, with their potential for strong post-flop draws, can be used to build fold equity effectively. By representing strength and aggression, players can induce folds from opponents holding marginal hands, thus increasing their chip stack without having to rely solely on hand strength. Aggression is key during the bubble stage. Players who can maintain a balance of controlled aggression and strategic caution are often the ones who navigate this phase successfully. Suited connectors offer the flexibility to play aggressively while still having the potential to improve on the flop. For example, raising with 9-8 suited from a late position can put pressure on opponents in the blinds, who may be reluctant to call without a premium hand. By doing so, players can pick up valuable blinds and antes, bolstering their stack as they edge closer to the money. Post-flop play with suited connectors during the bubble requires careful consideration of board textures and opponent tendencies. If the flop brings potential draws, such as a combination of low and middle cards that complement the suited connectors, players can continue their aggression. Semi-bluffing in these scenarios can be effective, as it allows players to represent strong hands while still having outs to improve if called. This dual threat can keep opponents guessing and create opportunities to win pots without going to showdown. However, it is essential to remain vigilant and adaptable. Not every flop will be favorable, and players must be willing to change their strategy if the board does not support their hand. In such cases, evaluating the strength of opponents' likely holdings is vital. If the board is dry and unlikely to have connected with opponents' ranges, continuing with aggression may still be viable. Conversely, if the board is coordinated or likely to have hit an opponent's calling range, exercising caution and potentially checking or folding may be the prudent choice. The bubble stage is a test of nerve and strategy, where the potential rewards of aggressive play must be weighed against the risk of elimination. Suited connectors provide a versatile tool for navigating this phase, allowing players to exploit opponents' tendencies and build their stacks. By understanding the dynamics of fold equity, aggression, and post-flop play, players can maximize their chances of success during this critical stage of a tournament. Independent chip model (ICM) is a crucial concept in tournament poker, influencing decisions at every stage, particularly when it comes to playing suited connectors. ICM assigns a monetary value to each player's chip stack, considering the payout structure of the tournament. This model helps players evaluate the risk and reward of each decision, especially as they approach significant pay jumps. Suited connectors, such as 7-6 suited or 9-8 suited, require careful consideration under ICM pressure, as their speculative nature can either bolster a player's stack or lead to costly mistakes. In tournament play, understanding ICM is essential for making informed decisions with suited connectors. As the tournament progresses and players near the money or significant pay jumps, the value of each chip becomes more pronounced. This is where ICM pressure comes into play, as players must weigh the potential gains of aggressive play against the risk of losing chips that could be crucial for survival. Suited connectors, with their ability to hit strong draws, offer opportunities to accumulate chips, but they also carry the risk of leaving players vulnerable if the board does not cooperate. Evaluating the risk-reward ratio of suited connectors under ICM pressure involves assessing the potential for post-flop play against the likelihood of facing aggression from opponents. In scenarios where players have a comfortable stack relative to the blinds, they may choose to take calculated risks with suited connectors, leveraging their potential to create strong hands. However, if a player's stack is precarious, the risk of losing chips may outweigh the potential reward, prompting a more conservative approach. Navigating aggressive opponents in ICM scenarios requires adaptability and keen awareness of table dynamics. When faced with aggression, players must consider the implications of ICM on their decision to call, raise, or fold with suited connectors. For example, if an opponent with a larger stack applies pressure, the risk of elimination may prompt a player to fold a marginal hand, preserving their tournament life for a more favorable opportunity. Conversely, if the player senses weakness or a potential bluff, they might seize the chance to push back, using suited connectors to challenge the aggressor. Stack sizes play a pivotal role in making critical decisions under ICM pressure. A larger stack affords players the flexibility to exploit suited connectors' potential, applying pressure on shorter stacks and capitalizing on their cautious play. In contrast, players with smaller stacks must be more selective, choosing spots where the potential reward justifies the risk of losing valuable chips. Understanding the relative stack sizes at the table helps players gauge their level of aggression and adjust their strategy accordingly. The impact of ICM on decision-making with suited connectors extends to pre-flop and post-flop play. Pre-flop, players must consider the likelihood of facing a 3-bet or all-in shove, which could jeopardize their tournament position. Post-flop, the ability to read opponents and assess board textures becomes paramount. Suited connectors that hit favorable flops can be leveraged to build pots and apply pressure, but players must remain cautious and avoid overcommitting in unfavorable situations. ICM pressure adds a layer of complexity to tournament strategy, particularly when playing suited connectors. By understanding the nuances of ICM and its impact on decision-making, players can navigate the challenges of tournament play more effectively. Balancing the speculative nature of suited connectors with the need for chip preservation under ICM pressure requires discipline and strategic foresight. Players who master this balance can enhance their tournament performance and increase their chances of success in high-pressure situations. When the flop lands and suited connectors miss their intended draws, players face a critical juncture in their strategy. These moments require a keen understanding of the board, opponents, and the potential paths forward. Missing the flop is a common scenario, especially with hands like 7-6 suited or 8-9 suited. The board may come with high cards or a mix of ranks that do not complement the suited connector's potential for straights or flushes. In such cases, the player must decide whether to continue with aggression, opt for a bluff, or retreat with caution. Bluffing becomes an essential tool when suited connectors miss the flop. The decision to bluff should be informed by the player's position, the board texture, and the tendencies of the opponents. A dry board with high unconnected cards can be ideal for a bluff, as it is less likely to have improved an opponent's hand. In such situations, a continuation bet can apply pressure, especially if the player has represented strength pre-flop. The key is to maintain a consistent story, suggesting a strong hand that the flop supports. Aggression must be carefully calibrated to the table dynamics. If opponents are passive or prone to folding, maintaining aggression can be profitable. However, against aggressive players, or those who call frequently, bluffing with missed-suited connectors can be risky. It's crucial to assess the likelihood of the bluff succeeding based on the opponent's previous actions and the overall feel of the table. If an opponent has shown a tendency to fold to aggression, it might be worth pursuing the bluff. Conversely, if the opponent is a calling station, a more cautious approach is advisable. Evaluating pot odds and implied odds is another critical aspect of post-flop play when suited connectors miss. Pot odds help determine whether a call is justified based on the potential return if the hand improves. For instance, if the player has a backdoor flush or straight draw, the implied odds considering the potential future bets that can be won if the draw hits may justify a call or a small bet. This evaluation requires a clear understanding of the current pot size, the bet required to continue, and the likelihood of the draw coming to fruition. Reading opponents becomes even more important when suited connectors miss the flop. Observing betting patterns, timing, and physical tells can provide valuable insights into the strength of an opponent's hand. A quick bet or a large raise might indicate strength, while hesitation or a smaller bet could suggest weakness. Adjusting tactics based on these reads is crucial. If an opponent shows signs of weakness, a well-timed bluff might force a fold. Conversely, if the opponent appears strong, it might be wise to fold and preserve chips for a more favorable opportunity. Adjusting tactics also involves considering the player's image at the table. If the player has been aggressive and shown down strong hands, opponents might be more inclined to fold to a continuation bet. However, if the player has been caught bluffing frequently, opponents may call more often, necessitating a shift in strategy. This adaptability is key to navigating the complexities of post-flop play with missed-suited connectors. In summary, when suited connectors miss the flop, players must rely on a blend of aggression, strategic bluffing, and careful evaluation of pot odds and opponent tendencies. Each decision should be informed by the specific dynamics of the table and the player's overall strategy. By remaining adaptable and observant, players can turn the challenge of a missed flop into an opportunity to outmaneuver their opponents and maintain control of the hand. Suited connectors, such as 7-6 suited or 9-8 suited, thrive on flops that offer promising draws. A favorable flop texture might include two cards of the same suit as the connectors, enhancing the potential for a flush draw. Alternatively, a sequence of cards that bridges the gap between the connectors can create a straight draw. For instance, if you hold 8-7 suited and the flop reveals 6-9 and 2, you find yourself with an open-ended straight draw. Such scenarios present opportunities to apply pressure and capitalize on the potential strength of the hand. When suited connectors hit a draw on the flop, the strategic approach can vary based on the table dynamics and opponent tendencies. Betting and raising become crucial tools in your arsenal. A well-timed bet can serve multiple purposes. It can build the pot in anticipation of hitting the draw, or it can apply pressure to opponents, potentially forcing folds from weaker hands. The size of the bet should reflect the level of aggression you wish to project and the likelihood of improving your hand. A smaller bet might entice calls, keeping opponents in the pot and maximizing value if the draw completes. Conversely, a larger bet can signal strength and may push out opponents, securing the pot without needing to improve. Assessing opponent ranges and tendencies is vital when deciding how to proceed with a draw. Understanding the types of hands your opponents might hold can inform your betting strategy. If opponents are likely to hold high cards or overpairs, a more aggressive approach might be necessary to push them off their hands. Conversely, if opponents are passive and tend to call with weaker holdings, a more measured approach can be effective, allowing you to extract value if the draw completes. Observing betting patterns and previous actions can provide insights into opponents' likely holdings, guiding your decisions on whether to bet or check. Post-flop play with suited connectors that have hit a draw requires careful consideration of the pot size and potential future bets. Maximizing value with draws involves balancing aggression with caution. If the draw is strong, such as a flush draw with overcards, applying pressure through bets or raises can increase the pot size while maintaining fold equity. However, if the draw is weaker or the board is paired, indicating potential full houses, a more cautious approach might be warranted. Checking or calling can keep the pot manageable and allow you to re-evaluate on the turn or river. Position plays a significant role in post-flop decisions with suited connectors. Being in position allows you to see your opponent's actions before making your move, providing valuable information on their hand strength. This advantage can inform whether to bet, raise, or check, optimizing your strategy based on the evolving dynamics of the hand. Conversely, being out of position requires a more proactive approach, as you must decide your action without the benefit of observing your opponents first. The excitement of flopping a draw with suited connectors lies in the potential outcomes. A completed draw can lead to significant pots and strategic victories, while the process of navigating the hand provides opportunities to outmaneuver opponents. Each decision, from the initial bet to the final call or fold, contributes to the unfolding narrative of the hand, where skill and intuition blend to create memorable poker moments. By understanding the nuances of playing suited connectors with draws, players can enhance their strategic repertoire and enjoy the thrill of the game. Semi-bluffing is a strategic maneuver in poker that involves betting or raising with a hand that is not currently the best, but has the potential to improve to a strong hand on subsequent streets. When playing suited connectors, semi-bluffing becomes particularly effective due to the inherent potential of these hands to develop into powerful draws like straights and flushes. The beauty of a semi-bluff lies in its dual nature. It can win the pot immediately if opponents fold, or it can set up a larger win if the draw completes. The ideal scenarios for executing a semi-bluff with suited connectors often involve favorable board textures that offer multiple outs. For instance, holding 9-8 suited on a board showing 6, 7, and 2 presents an open-ended straight draw. This situation is ripe for a semi-bluff, as the draw has numerous outs to improve, and the board is unlikely to have hit many opponents' ranges strongly. Similarly, a flop with 2 cards of your suit offers a flush draw, another strong candidate for a semi-bluff. The potential to complete a flush, or straight on the turn, or river, provides the hand with significant equity, justifying the aggression. Board texture plays a crucial role in determining the success of a semi-bluff. A dry board, one with disparate, unconnected cards, is less ideal for semi-bluffing with suited connectors, as it doesn't support the narrative of a strong hand or draw. Conversely, a wet board, rich with potential draws and connections, can enhance the credibility of a semi-bluff. Opponents are more likely to fold when they perceive a high likelihood of facing a completed draw or a strong hand on future streets. Opponent tendencies also significantly impact the decision to semi-bluff. Against tight players who tend to fold frequently to aggression, semi-bluffing can be a profitable strategy. These opponents are more likely to release marginal hands, fearing the potential strength of the better's range. In contrast, against loose or calling station opponents, who prefer to see more cards and are less likely to fold, semi-bluffing requires more caution. In such cases, it's essential to ensure that the draw has sufficient equity to justify the bet, as the likelihood of immediate folds decreases. The size of the bet is another critical factor in the effectiveness of a semi-bluff. Bet sizing should be calibrated to maximize fold equity while maintaining a balance with the pot odds offered to opponents. A bet that is too small might not exert enough pressure, allowing opponents to call with a wide range of hands. On the other hand, an excessively large bet risks overcommitting to the pot with a hand that is not yet made. Typically, a bet of around half to 3/4 of the pot can create enough pressure to induce folds from marginal holdings while still being affordable if the draw does not complete. Incorporating semi-bluffing into your poker strategy with suited connectors requires a keen sense of timing and an understanding of the table dynamics. It is a move that thrives on the tension between aggression and potential, offering a path to victory through both immediate folds and future draws. By mastering the art of the semi-bluff, players can add a layer of unpredictability to their game, keeping opponents on their toes and enhancing their overall strategic depth. Fold equity represents the potential gain a player achieves when an opponent folds to a bet or raise. This concept is crucial in poker, particularly when playing suited connectors, as it allows players to win pots without having the best hand. Suited connectors, such as 9-8 suited or Jack-10 suited, often rely on their ability to improve through draws rather than starting hand strength. By effectively utilizing fold equity, players can turn these speculative hands into powerful tools for aggression and pressure. The essence of fold equity lies in the combination of the player's bet and the opponent's likelihood of folding. When a player makes a bet, they are not only betting on the strength of their hand, but also on their ability to convince opponents to fold. This is especially relevant when holding suited connectors, which may not initially appear strong, but have the potential to develop into formidable hands. By betting or raising, players can induce folds from opponents holding marginal hands, thereby winning the pot outright, or setting up favorable conditions for future streets. Maximizing fold equity with suited connectors often involves identifying situations where opponents are likely to fold. One such scenario is when facing opponents who play conservatively or are risk-averse. These players are more inclined to fold to aggression, fearing the possibility of facing a stronger hand. By recognizing these tendencies, players can exploit them by betting with suited connectors, leveraging their fold equity to win pots without needing to show down a hand. Another situation that enhances fold equity is when players are in position. Being in position means acting after opponents, allowing players to gather more information about their opponent's hands and intentions. This positional advantage can be used to apply pressure with suited connectors, as players can observe opponents' reactions to the flop before deciding to bet or raise. The additional information gained from acting last increases the likelihood of making informed decisions that maximize fold equity. Table image also plays a significant role in determining fold equity. A player with a tight and aggressive image is more likely to induce folds from opponents, as their bets and raises are perceived as representing strong hands. Conversely, a player with a loose or erratic table image may find it harder to capitalize on fold equity, as opponents may be more willing to call their bets, suspecting bluffs. Therefore, maintaining a consistent and disciplined table image can enhance a player's ability to exploit fold equity with suited connectors. Strategies for applying pressure with suited connectors involve carefully selecting bet sizes and timing. A well-calibrated bet size can create sufficient pressure on opponents to fold while maintaining a manageable risk for the bettor. Typically, a bet size between half and 3/4 of the pot is effective in maximizing fold equity. This size is large enough to deter opponents from calling with weak hands, but not so large that it overcommits the player if the bet is called. Timing is equally crucial when leveraging fold equity. Players should aim to apply pressure when the board texture is favorable for their hand, or when opponents show signs of weakness, such as checking or making small bets. By choosing the right moments to bet or raise, players can maximize their fold equity and increase their chances of winning pots with suited connectors. In summary, fold equity is a vital tool in a poker player's arsenal, particularly when playing suited connectors. By understanding and exploiting fold equity, players can turn these speculative hands into opportunities for aggression and pressure, winning pots without the need for a showdown. Mastering the art of fold equity involves recognizing favorable situations, maintaining a strong table image, and executing well-timed bets and raises. Through these strategies, players can enhance their overall effectiveness at the poker table, turning suited connectors into formidable weapons in their poker repertoire. Suited connectors, such as 9-8 suited or 7-6 suited, are hands that hold a special place in the hearts of many poker players. They offer the tantalizing possibility of making straights and flushes, and can be used to bluff opponents off stronger hands. However, when the flop comes down with little to offer, the temptation to overplay these hands can lead to trouble. A weak flop, one that doesn't improve your suited connectors, such as a board of king, 4, 2 with no matching suits, often leaves these hands stranded. Recognizing these scenarios is crucial to avoiding the pitfalls of overplaying. The dangers of committing too many chips after a weak flop are significant. When the board doesn't connect with your suited connectors, the hand's value diminishes drastically. In these situations, continuing to invest chips in the hope of improving on later streets can be a costly mistake. The allure of what could be, a straight or flush on the turn or river, must be weighed against the current reality of your hand's strength. Without the right board texture, suited connectors become vulnerable to stronger holdings, and pushing forward aggressively can lead to losing substantial portions of your stack. Strategies for re-evaluating hand strength and potential after a weak flop involve a careful assessment of the board and your opponents. It's essential to consider the likelihood of your hand improving and the potential strength of your opponent's hands. If the flop is dry and disconnected from your suited connectors, it may be time to fold and conserve your chips for a more favorable situation. Alternatively, if you notice opponents showing weakness through checks or small bets, a well-timed bluff could still be an option, but it should be approached with caution and a clear understanding of the risks involved. Reading opponents' reactions and betting patterns becomes even more crucial when deciding how to proceed after a weak flop. If an opponent shows aggression with a significant bet or raise, it often indicates a strong hand or a draw that has more potential than your suited connectors. In such cases, it's wise to retreat and preserve your stack for a better opportunity. On the other hand, if the table appears passive, with players hesitant to commit chips, there might be a chance to take down the pot with a strategic bet, representing a stronger hand than you actually hold. The importance of sound judgment and caution when playing suited connectors after a weak flop cannot be overstated. The ability to step back and reassess the situation, rather than blindly pursuing a draw, is a hallmark of skilled play. This disciplined approach helps maintain your chip stack and reduces the risk of falling into traps set by opponents with stronger hands. By recognizing the limitations of suited connectors on unfavorable boards, players can make more informed decisions that protect their position in the game and set the stage for future success. In poker, the line between aggression and recklessness is thin, and understanding when to pull back is as important as knowing when to push forward. Suited connectors offer exciting potential, but they require a measured approach, especially when the flop doesn't cooperate. By honing the ability to evaluate situations critically and adjust strategies accordingly, players can navigate the complexities of poker with greater confidence and success. Range balancing is an integral part of advanced poker strategy, ensuring that a player remains unpredictable and difficult to read. At its core, range balancing involves mixing up your play with a variety of hands so opponents cannot easily deduce your holdings based on your actions. This approach prevents players from becoming too predictable, thereby maintaining an edge over opponents who might otherwise exploit a consistent strategy. Suited connectors, with their potential for drawing strong hands like straights and flushes, are a key component in achieving a balanced range. Suited connectors, such as 8-7 suited or 6-5 suited, offer a unique versatility that makes them ideal for range balancing. They are not premium hands like aces or kings, but they have the potential to develop into powerful hands post-flop. By including suited connectors in your range, you can disguise the strength of your hand and keep your opponents guessing. This unpredictability is essential when playing against observant players who pay close attention to betting patterns and hand selection. Incorporating suited connectors into a balanced range involves understanding the dynamics of the table and the tendencies of your opponents. For instance, in a game with tight players who fold frequently, opening with suited connectors can apply pressure and potentially steal blinds. Conversely, in a loose game where opponents call frequently, suited connectors can be used to see flops cheaply and capitalize on their potential to hit big. The key is to adjust your range based on the behavior of the players around you, ensuring that your strategy remains fluid and adaptable. Position plays a critical role in range balancing with suited connectors. In early position, where you act first and have less information about your opponent's hands, it's generally wise to tighten your range and play suited connectors more cautiously. Opening with these hands from early position can be risky, as you may face raises or calls from players in later positions who have stronger hands. However, in middle and late positions, where you have more information and can observe the actions of others, suited connectors become more valuable. You can use your position to apply pressure, control the pot size, and make more informed decisions post-flop. The art of balancing ranges with suited connectors also involves recognizing situational factors that can influence your decisions. Stack sizes, for example, can dictate how aggressively you play suited connectors. With a deep stack, you have more flexibility to call raises and see flops, knowing you have the chips to withstand variance. In contrast, with a shorter stack, you might opt to play suited connectors more aggressively, looking for opportunities to shove all in and maximize fold equity. Another situational factor is the image you have at the table. If you've been playing tightly and showing down strong hands, opponents may give you more credit when you open with suited connectors, allowing you to bluff more effectively. On the other hand, if you've been playing loosely, your raises with suited connectors might be called more often, requiring you to adjust your strategy accordingly. Balancing your range with suited connectors is about creating a strategic mix that keeps your opponents guessing. By varying your play and adapting to the dynamics of the table, you can maintain an edge and exploit the tendencies of your opponents. This approach requires a keen understanding of poker fundamentals and the ability to read the game as it unfolds. As you refine your skills in range balancing, you'll find that suited connectors become a powerful tool in your poker arsenal, offering both the potential for big hands and the ability to bluff effectively. Controlling pot size is a fundamental aspect of poker strategy, particularly when wielding the intriguing yet delicate suited connectors. These hands, such as 7-6 suited or 9-8 suited, offer the potential for powerful draws and unexpected straights and flushes. However, their strength is often realized only after the flop, making it crucial to manage the pot size effectively, to capitalize on their potential without exposing oneself to undue risk. One of the primary techniques for controlling pot size with suited connectors is through thoughtful bet sizing. By carefully choosing the size of your bets, you can influence the flow of the hand and the decisions of your opponents. For instance, a smaller bet on the flop can keep the pot manageable, allowing you to see further streets without committing too many chips. This approach is particularly useful when you have a drawing hand and wish to maintain pot odds favorable to your potential outs. Conversely, if you flop a strong draw, such as an open-ended straight or a flush draw, a slightly larger bet may be warranted to build the pot and set up for a substantial payoff if your draw completes. Position is another critical factor in pot control. When you are in a late position, you have the advantage of observing your opponent's actions before making your decision. This information allows you to tailor your bet sizing and overall strategy to the current situation. If the action checks to you, a small bet can serve to keep the pot under control while still applying pressure. In contrast, if you are in an early position, you may need to exercise more caution, as acting first limits your ability to gauge opponents' responses and adjust accordingly. Navigating aggressive opponents while controlling the pot size requires a blend of patience and strategic insight. Against players who frequently raise or re-raise, it is essential to resist the temptation to inflate the pot unnecessarily with suited connectors. Instead, focus on playing these hands in a way that allows you to exploit their aggression. For example, if an aggressive opponent raises pre-flop and you hold suited connectors, consider calling rather than re-raising. This approach keeps the pot size manageable and allows you to see the flop, where your hand's potential can be more accurately assessed. Evaluating the risks of building a large pot with suited connectors involves understanding the nature of these hands. While they can develop into strong holdings, they are often speculative and reliant on hitting specific cards to realize their full potential. Building a large pot with suited connectors without a clear plan can lead to difficult decisions on later streets, particularly if the board texture becomes unfavorable. Therefore, it is crucial to remain disciplined and avoid overcommitting to the pot unless the situation clearly justifies it. In summary, controlling the pot size with suited connectors is about striking a balance between aggression and caution. By using thoughtful bet sizing, leveraging your position, and adapting to the tendencies of your opponents, you can maximize the potential of these hands while minimizing exposure to risk. This strategic approach not only preserves your chip stack, but also enhances your ability to capitalize on the dynamic opportunities that suited connectors can present. Aggressive players in poker are characterized by their frequent betting and raising, often putting pressure on their opponents to make quick and sometimes uncomfortable decisions. These players thrive on creating tension and exploiting any signs of weakness they perceive at the table. When holding suited connectors, such as 8-7 suited or 6-5 suited, facing aggressive opponents can be both a challenge and an opportunity. The key lies in understanding how to leverage the unique properties of these hands to counteract the aggression effectively. Suited connectors offer a blend of potential and disguise, making them suitable for combating aggressive strategies. These hands are often not perceived as strong pre-flop, which allows them to slip under the radar. Aggressive players, focused on dominating the table, may overlook the hidden potential of suited connectors, giving you an edge when the board develops favorably. The ability to make straights and flushes provides a solid foundation to challenge the aggressive playstyle, especially when the board texture aligns with your hand. Position plays a critical role when navigating aggressive opponents with suited connectors. Being in a late position offers the advantage of observing the actions of aggressive players before making your decision. This information is invaluable, as it allows you to adjust your strategy based on their tendencies. For instance, if an aggressive player raises from an early position and you're on the button with suited connectors, you have the option to call and see the flop, assessing whether your hand can develop into a strong draw or made hand. Timing is equally crucial. Knowing when to engage and when to fold can save chips and increase your chances of success. If an aggressive player bets heavily on the flop and you have a draw, consider the pot odds and implied odds before deciding to continue. If the odds are favorable, calling or even raising can be a viable strategy. Raising can serve as a semi-bluff, potentially forcing the aggressive player to reconsider their hand strength and fold if they lack a strong holding. Adjusting your bet sizing is another effective way to counter aggressive opponents. Against a player who frequently bets large, consider responding with smaller bets when you have position. This approach keeps the pot manageable and allows you to extract value if your hand improves. Conversely, if you sense weakness or if the board texture is favorable, a larger bet can apply pressure back on the aggressive player, potentially leading them to fold weaker hands. It's essential to remain calm and composed when facing aggression. Emotional decisions can lead to costly mistakes, especially with speculative hands like suited connectors. Focus on gathering information about your opponent's tendencies and use this data to inform your decisions. Recognize patterns in their betting behavior and adjust your strategy accordingly, ensuring that you maintain control over the hand's dynamics. In multi-way pots, aggressive players can inadvertently create opportunities for suited connectors to thrive. Their bets may bloat the pot, providing better odds for continuing with a draw. In such scenarios, it is important to weigh the risks and potential rewards carefully. Suited connectors are most effective when you can capitalize on the mistakes of aggressive players, such as overbetting or failing to recognize the strength of a coordinated board. Ultimately, playing suited connectors against aggressive opponents requires a balanced approach of caution and calculated risk-taking. By leveraging position, timing, and bet sizing, you can turn the tables on aggression, using the inherent potential of suited connectors to your advantage. This strategic adaptability not only enhances your chances of winning individual hands, but also contributes to a more resilient and versatile overall poker strategy. Passive opponents in poker are known for their tendency to check and call rather than bet or raise. They often avoid confrontation and prefer to see more cards without committing too many chips. This behavior allows them to control their losses, but also makes them susceptible to strategic exploitation. When playing suited connectors, such as 9-8 suited or 7-6 suited, against passive opponents, the key is to capitalize on their reluctance to take the lead. Suited connectors, with their potential to form straights and flushes, provide an excellent opportunity to apply pressure and extract value from passive players. The first step in exploiting passive opponents is recognizing their betting patterns. They typically enter pots by limping or calling pre-flop raises, rarely initiating action themselves. This tendency continues post-flop, where they prefer to check and call rather than bet or raise. Such behavior indicates a desire to see the showdown without investing heavily. By understanding this pattern, you can devise a strategy that leverages their passivity to your advantage. One effective approach is to take control of the hand by betting aggressively. When holding suited connectors, you can often bet on the flop, turn and river to force passive opponents into difficult decisions. Since they are less likely to raise without a strong hand, your bets can either extract value when you have the best hand, or serve as bluffs when you sense weakness. The key is to maintain the initiative, keeping them on the back foot and capitalizing on their tendency to call rather than raise. Position plays a crucial role when exploiting passive opponents with suited connectors. Being in a later position allows you to observe their actions before deciding how to proceed. If a passive opponent checks to you, it's often a green light to bet, regardless of whether you've hit the board. This strategy not only builds the pot when you have a strong hand, but also applies pressure, potentially forcing folds from marginal holdings. Aggression is essential in maximizing value against passive players. By betting consistently, you can build larger pots when you hit your draws or have a made hand. Passive opponents often call down with weaker hands, hoping to catch a lucky card. This behavior can be exploited by betting for value when you have a strong hand, knowing they are likely to call with inferior holdings. The goal is to create situations where they are compelled to call your bets, allowing you to extract maximum value. Situational factors can enhance opportunities against passive opponents. For instance, if you're in a multi-way pot with several passive players, betting with suited connectors can thin the field, isolating one or two opponents. This strategy increases your chances of winning the pot by reducing the number of players who can outdraw you. Additionally, if the board texture is favorable for your hand, such as when it offers straight or flush draws, betting can apply pressure and force passive opponents to fold their weaker holdings. It's important to remain vigilant and adaptable when playing against passive opponents. While they may not pose the same immediate threat as aggressive players, their ability to call down with marginal hands can still affect your strategy. By maintaining a consistent betting pattern and adjusting your approach based on their reactions, you can exploit their tendencies effectively. This strategic approach not only increases your chip stack, but also enhances your overall poker acumen, allowing you to navigate different opponent types with confidence. In summary, playing suited connectors against passive opponents involves recognizing their tendencies and adjusting your strategy to exploit their weaknesses. By taking the initiative and betting aggressively, you can maximize the value of your suited connectors, forcing passive players to make difficult decisions. This approach, combined with an understanding of situational factors and position, allows you to capitalize on their reluctance to lead, ultimately leading to more successful outcomes at the poker table. When faced with a short stack shove, the decision to call with suited connectors requires careful evaluation. Suited connectors, such as 8-7 suited or 9-8 suited, have the potential to form strong hands like straights and flushes. However, their strength is often speculative and relies heavily on the board texture. When a short-stacked opponent pushes all in, the immediate task is to assess the strength of your suited connectors against their likely range. Short stacks often shove with a wide range of hands, including weaker aces, small pairs, and even Broadway cards. This breadth of range can sometimes make suited connectors a viable call, especially if they are live against the opponent's holdings. The decision to call or fold against a short stack shove involves several key factors. First, consider the size of your own stack relative to the blinds and antes. If your stack is deep, you may have the luxury to speculate and call with suited connectors, hoping to catch a favorable flop. Conversely, if your stack is also short, you might need to be more conservative, preserving chips for a better spot. The pot odds offered by the call are another crucial consideration. If the pot odds are favorable, meaning the potential reward outweighs the risk, calling with suited connectors can be justified. However, if the odds are not in your favor, folding becomes the prudent choice. Position plays a significant role in the dynamics of short stack scenarios. Being in a later position allows you to observe the actions of other players before making your decision. If players acting after you are likely to call or raise, it might affect your willingness to call the shove with suited connectors. On the other hand, if you are in an early position, you must consider the possibility of getting squeezed by players yet to act. Table dynamics, including the tendencies of your opponents, also influence your decision. If the shoving player is known to be tight and only pushes with strong hands, your suited connectors might not have enough equity to justify a call. Conversely, if the player is loose and shoves frequently, your suited connectors may have a better chance of being ahead or drawing live. Maximizing fold equity is another strategy to consider when facing short stack pushes. Fold equity refers to the likelihood that your opponent will fold to a bet or raise. In the context of calling a shove, fold equity is not directly applicable, but understanding it helps in broader strategic planning. For instance, if you anticipate that calling the shove might encourage other players to fold, thus isolating the short stack, it could make the call more attractive. Additionally, if you have the opportunity to be the aggressor in future hands, maintaining a stack size that allows you to apply pressure can create fold equity in subsequent rounds. In conclusion, calling a short stack shove with suited connectors, requires a nuanced understanding of various factors. Evaluating the strength of your hand against the opponent's range, considering your stack size and pot odds, and factoring in position and table dynamics are all essential components of the decision-making process. By carefully weighing these elements, you can make informed choices that enhance your chances of success in tournament play. In the intricate dance of poker, multi-way pots present a unique set of challenges, especially when holding suited connectors. These hands, such as 6-5 suited or 7-8 suited, can be powerful in the right circumstances, but their true potential often depends on the ability to navigate the complexities of multiple opponents. In a multi-way pot, the likelihood of encountering a wider range of hands increases, which in turn affects the strategies one must employ. The presence of more players means that the strength of your hand must be evaluated, not just against one opponent, but several, each with their own potential holdings and strategies. Evaluating pot odds and implied odds becomes crucial in multi-way scenarios. Pot odds refer to the ratio of the current size of the pot to the size of the bet you must call. In multi-way pots, these odds can be more favorable because the pot is larger due to the contributions of multiple players. However, the presence of more players also means that the likelihood of someone having a strong hand increases. This is where implied odds come into play. Implied odds consider the potential future bets you can win if your hand improves. With suited connectors, the potential to hit a straight or flush can offer significant implied odds, but only if you can reasonably expect to extract value from your opponents when you hit. Position is a critical factor in decision-making during multi-way pots. Being in a later position allows you to see how the action unfolds before you commit more chips. This advantage is magnified in multi-way pots, where the actions of each player can provide valuable information about their hand strength. If players in early positions are showing aggression, it may indicate strong holdings, which can influence your decision to continue with suited connectors. Conversely, if the action checks around to you, it might suggest weakness, presenting an opportunity to apply pressure or take a free card to improve your hand. Adjusting aggression based on the number of opponents is another key strategy. In a multi-way pot, aggressive play can be risky because the probability of being called by a stronger hand is higher. Therefore, selective aggression is important. If you choose to bet or raise, it should be with a clear purpose, such as building a pot when you have strong draws, or folding out weaker hands when your opponents show signs of weakness. Conversely, when facing aggression, it is crucial to reassess the strength of your suited connectors and the likelihood of improving on future streets. Another consideration in multi-way pots is the potential for disguised strength. Suited connectors often hit unexpected straights or flushes that can catch opponents off guard. This element of surprise can be a powerful tool, allowing you to extract maximum value from unsuspecting opponents. However, this potential must be balanced with the risk of overcommitting to a draw in a pot with multiple players. It is important to remain vigilant and adaptable, ready to shift strategies as the board develops and the dynamics of the hand change. In summary, navigating multi-way pots with suited connectors requires a multifaceted approach that considers pot odds, position, and aggression. By carefully evaluating these factors and remaining flexible in your strategy, you can enhance your ability to capitalize on the opportunities presented by these intriguing hands. Suited connectors, such as 8-7 suited or 9-8 suited, often hold a certain allure at the poker table. Their potential to transform into powerful hands like straights and flushes can be enticing. However, overvaluing these hands can lead to costly mistakes. Recognizing when suited connectors are truly advantageous requires a clear understanding of their limitations and the ability to assess hand strength accurately. One common pitfall players face is becoming overly attached to the aesthetic appeal of suited connectors. The sight of two connected cards of the same suit can create a false sense of security, leading players to overcommit to pots where their hand lacks true strength. This is particularly dangerous in situations where the board texture does not favor the potential of suited connectors. For instance, a flop that offers no straight or flush draw diminishes the value of these hands significantly. Players must resist the temptation to chase draws that are unlikely to materialize, especially when facing substantial bets from opponents. Another factor to consider is the relative strength of suited connectors compared to other potential holdings. While suited connectors can indeed make strong hands, they often require specific board conditions to realize their full potential. In contrast, pocket pairs or high card combinations can offer more immediate strength. Understanding the hierarchy of hand values and how suited connectors fit into this framework is crucial for making informed decisions. Players should be wary of overestimating the likelihood of hitting a draw, and instead focus on the realistic probabilities of improving their hand. Maintaining discipline is key to avoiding the trap of overvaluing suited connectors. Emotional decisions, often driven by the desire to see a favorite hand succeed, can cloud judgment. Players should approach each hand with a clear analytical mindset, evaluating the odds and potential outcomes without bias. This requires a commitment to folding suited connectors when the situation demands it, even when the allure of a potential draw is strong. Recognizing when to let go of a hand is a skill that separates disciplined players from those who fall prey to emotional impulses. Reading the table and understanding opponent behavior also play a critical role in assessing the value of suited connectors. Observing how opponents bet and react can provide insights into their hand strength and intentions. For example, if an opponent shows aggression on a dry board, it may indicate a strong hand that your suited connectors are unlikely to beat. Conversely, if opponents check or make small bets, it might suggest weakness, offering an opportunity to apply pressure or take a free card. Adapting to the flow of the game and adjusting your strategy based on these observations can help mitigate the risks associated with overvaluing suited connectors. In addition to these considerations, players should be mindful of their position at the table. Playing suited connectors from early position can be particularly risky, as it leaves players vulnerable to raises and re-raises from opponents in later positions. This can lead to situations where players are forced to commit more chips than they intended, often with a hand that has not yet developed. In contrast, playing suited connectors from a later position allows players to gather more information before deciding how to proceed, reducing the likelihood of overcommitting. Ultimately, the key to avoiding the overvaluation of suited connectors lies in a balanced approach that combines sound judgment, discipline, and an acute awareness of the table dynamics. By recognizing the limitations of these hands and making decisions based on logic rather than emotion, players can protect their stacks and enhance their overall strategy. Suited connectors, like 7-6 suited or 8-9 suited, can be alluring hands that promise the potential for straights and flushes. However, they can also become trap hands, leading players into precarious situations. The key to avoiding these traps lies in recognizing the scenarios where suited connectors can lead to overcommitment. A common trap occurs when the board seems favorable, offering a flush or straight draw that entices players to invest heavily. Yet, without a made hand, these draws can be deceptive, leading to significant losses if the draw fails to materialize. Players often fall into the trap of overcommitting due to psychological factors. The allure of suited connectors lies in their potential, but this potential can cloud judgment. The excitement of a possible flush or straight can lead to a false sense of security, causing players to disregard the actual strength of their hand. This emotional attachment to the hand can result in poor decision-making, as players chase draws without considering the odds or the strength of their opponent's hands. The desire to see a favorite hand succeed can overshadow rational analysis, leading to costly mistakes. Recognizing opponent tendencies is crucial in avoiding the traps set by suited connectors. Observant players can identify when opponents are likely to have stronger holdings. For instance, if an opponent shows aggression on a board with potential draws, it may indicate they hold a made hand or a stronger draw. Conversely, passive play from opponents might suggest weakness, offering an opportunity to leverage suited connectors effectively. Understanding these dynamics allows players to adjust their strategy, avoiding traps and maximizing value. Strategies for extracting value without falling into traps involve a blend of caution and aggression. Players should assess the board texture carefully, considering whether it truly favors their suited connectors. On coordinated boards with multiple potential draws, the risk of running into a stronger hand increases. In such cases, exercising caution by controlling the pot size can prevent overcommitment. However, on drier boards where opponents are less likely to have strong hands, players can apply pressure, using their suited connectors to bluff or semi-bluff effectively. Position plays a vital role in determining whether suited connectors become traps. Playing from early position can be risky, as it limits the information available about opponents' intentions. This can lead to situations where players commit chips without knowing if their suited connectors are truly strong. In contrast, playing from late position provides more information, allowing players to make informed decisions based on the actions of those who act before them. This reduces the likelihood of falling into traps and enhances the ability to extract value. Another factor to consider is the size of the pot relative to the player's stack. Large pots can lure players into committing more chips than advisable, especially when holding suited connectors. It's essential to evaluate whether the potential reward justifies the risk, considering both the pot odds and the likelihood of completing the draw. Discipline in these situations can prevent overcommitment and preserve the player's stack for more favorable opportunities. Ultimately, the key to avoiding the traps of suited connectors lies in a balanced approach that combines awareness, discipline, and strategic thinking. By recognizing the limitations of these hands and making decisions based on logic rather than emotion, players can navigate the complexities of poker with greater success. Understanding when suited connectors become trap hands requires a keen sense of observation and the ability to adapt to the ever-changing dynamics of the game. Suited connectors, such as 6-7 suited or 9-10 suited, hold a unique place in poker strategy, especially when faced with the daunting prospect of going all in against overcards or pocket pairs. In these scenarios, understanding equity becomes crucial. Equity refers to the likelihood of your hand winning against an opponent's range of possible hands. When you hold suited connectors, your equity against overcards or small pairs often hinges on the potential to hit a straight flush or two-pair combination. These hands can surprise opponents and shift the balance of power at the table. When evaluating the equity of suited connectors against overcards, it's important to consider the number of outs available. Outs are the unseen cards that will improve your hand to a winner. For instance, if you hold 7-8 suited, and the flop brings a 5 and a 9, you have an open-ended straight draw. This means any 6 or 10 will complete your straight, giving you 8 outs. The more outs you have, the higher your equity, which can justify an all-in move if the pot odds are favorable. Pot odds play a significant role in deciding whether to go all in with suited connectors. Pot odds are the ratio of the current size of the pot to the size of the bet you must call. If the pot odds are greater than the odds of completing your draw, it can be a mathematically sound decision to call or push all in. For example, If the pot is large relative to the bet you face, and you have a strong draw, the potential reward may outweigh the risk, making an all-in move more appealing. Stack sizes and tournament implications also influence the decision to go all-in with suited connectors. In tournaments, the size of your stack compared to the blinds and antes can dictate your level of aggression. A short stack may necessitate a more aggressive approach, pushing all in to maximize fold equity and potentially double up. Conversely, with a deep stack, you might opt for more cautious play, preserving chips for later stages. Understanding these dynamics helps in making informed decisions that align with your overall strategy. Maximizing fold equity is another critical aspect when facing strong hands with suited connectors. Fold equity is the probability that an opponent will fold to your bet, allowing you to win the pot without a showdown. When you sense that opponents are likely to fold, perhaps due to a tight playing style or a weak board texture, an all-in bet can be a powerful tool. By leveraging the fear of elimination or significant chip loss, you can induce folds even when holding a marginal hand. In scenarios where you face pocket pairs, the equity of suited connectors largely depends on the board runout. Against small to medium pairs, suited connectors can have decent equity due to their ability to hit straights or flushes. However, against higher pairs, the challenge increases, as the pairs already have a strong starting point. Recognizing when your suited connectors have the potential to outdraw these pairs is essential for making profitable all-in decisions. The psychological aspect of going all-in with suited connectors cannot be overlooked. The decision often involves a mix of courage and calculation, as players must weigh the potential for a big win against the risk of elimination. This balance of risk and reward is at the heart of poker strategy, and mastering it can lead to more consistent success at the table. By understanding the nuances of equity, pot odds, stack sizes, and fold equity, players can navigate these high-stakes situations with greater confidence and clarity. Premium hands in Texas Hold'em are typically defined as pairs of high-ranking cards or combinations like Ace-King or Ace-Queen. These hands are strong due to their high card strength and potential to form top pairs, or even stronger hands post-flop. Premium hands often include pocket pairs from aces down to jacks, as well as suited high connectors like Ace-King suited. These hands carry significant pre-flop value and are favored in many situations due to their inherent strength and ability to dominate weaker holdings. Suited connectors, such as 7-8 suited or 9-10 suited, offer a different kind of potential. While they lack the raw power of premium hands, they thrive on their ability to form straights, flushes, and other unexpected combinations. This speculative nature allows them to catch opponents off guard, especially when the board develops in a way that favors drawing hands. The situational advantage of suited connectors lies in their capacity to create strong disguised hands that can outmaneuver premium holdings when the conditions are right. When facing premium hands, suited connectors require strategic finesse. These hands are best played in scenarios where the implied odds are favorable. Implied odds refer to the potential winnings from an opponent if the board develops favorably for your hand. With suited connectors, the goal is often to see a flop cheaply and evaluate the potential for a strong draw. If the flop presents possibilities for a straight or flush, the value of suited connectors increases significantly, allowing players to apply pressure on opponents holding premium hands. Reading the board is crucial when playing suited connectors against premium hands. A flop that includes connected cards or suited possibilities can dramatically shift the balance. For instance, if you hold 8-9 suited and the flop comes 7-6-2 with 2 of your suit, you have an open-ended straight draw and a flush draw. This scenario provides numerous outs and increases your equity against even the strongest premium hands. Recognizing these opportunities allows you to exploit the board texture to your advantage. Opponent behavior is another critical factor when playing suited connectors against premium hands. Observing betting patterns and tendencies can offer insights into the strength of your opponent's holdings. If an opponent with a reputation for tight play suddenly becomes aggressive, it may indicate a strong hand. Conversely, a passive player who suddenly bets aggressively on a draw-heavy board might be vulnerable to a well-timed bluff or semi-bluff with your suited connectors. Adapting to these behavioral cues can enhance your strategic approach and improve your chances of success. Position also plays a vital role in these encounters. Being in late position provides the advantage of observing your opponent's actions before making a decision. This additional information can guide your strategy, allowing you to decide whether to apply pressure or proceed with caution. In early position, however, the lack of information necessitates a more conservative approach, as acting first without knowing your opponent's intentions can be risky. The key to playing suited connectors against premium hands lies in balance and adaptability. While suited connectors can be powerful tools, they require careful consideration of the board, opponent behavior, and position. By understanding these dynamics, players can maximize the potential of suited connectors and effectively challenge premium hands, turning speculative opportunities into strategic victories. In heads-up play, the poker table transforms into a battleground of wits and strategy, where every decision carries significant weight. Suited connectors, such as 7-8 suited or 9-10 suited, emerge as versatile tools in this setting. The reduced number of players means that the value of aggression increases exponentially. With only one opponent to contend with, the ability to apply pressure and dictate the pace of the game becomes paramount. Suited connectors thrive in this environment, offering the potential to catch opponents off guard with unexpected straights and flushes, all while maintaining a facade of unpredictability. Aggression in heads-up play is not merely about betting large, but about consistently applying pressure to force your opponent into difficult decisions. Suited connectors allow for a range of aggressive plays, from pre-flop raises to post-flop bets that capitalize on the potential of drawing hands. The key is to maintain the initiative, keeping your opponent on the defensive and unable to settle into a comfortable rhythm. By doing so, you can extract maximum value from your suited connectors, turning speculative opportunities into tangible gains. Adjusting hand ranges is crucial in heads-up dynamics. In a full-ring game, suited connectors might be considered speculative hands, but in heads-up play, their value increases significantly. The absence of multiple opponents means that the likelihood of facing premium hands decreases. As such, the relative strength of suited connectors rises, allowing them to be played more aggressively. The ability to adapt your hand range to the heads-up format is essential, as it enables you to exploit your opponent's tendencies and capitalize on their weaknesses. Bluffing and semi-bluffing become vital components of heads-up strategy with suited connectors. The nature of these hands often means that they have potential beyond their initial value. For instance, holding a hand like 8-9 suited on a flop of 6-7 king can offer an open-ended straight draw. In such scenarios, a semi-bluff can be particularly effective, as it allows you to represent a strong hand while still having the potential to improve if called. Recognizing these opportunities requires a keen understanding of board textures and opponent tendencies, allowing you to execute bluffs and semi-bluffs with precision. Position plays a pivotal role in heads-up scenarios, influencing both strategy and decision-making. Being in position provides a significant advantage, as it allows you to gather information from your opponent's actions before making your own. This additional insight can guide your decisions, from whether to bet or check, to how much pressure to apply. Conversely, being out of position requires a more cautious approach, as you must act with less information about your opponent's intentions. Understanding the nuances of position in heads-up play is crucial for maximizing the potential of suited connectors. Bet sizing is another critical element in heads-up play with suited connectors. The size of your bets can convey strength or weakness, influencing your opponent's perception of your hand. Smaller bets can induce calls from weaker holdings, while larger bets can apply pressure and force folds from marginal hands. The ability to vary your bet sizing based on the situation and your opponent's tendencies is a powerful tool, allowing you to manipulate the flow of the game and extract maximum value from your suited connectors. In heads-up play, the strategic landscape shifts dramatically, offering suited connectors a unique platform to shine. By embracing aggression, adjusting hand ranges, and recognizing opportunities for bluffing and semi-bluffing, players can leverage these hands to their full potential. The significance of position and bet sizing further enhances the effectiveness of suited connectors, transforming them into formidable weapons in the one-on-one arena. Low-suited connectors, such as 3-4 suited or 4-5 suited, are hands that offer the potential to form straights and flushes, but they carry unique challenges. These hands often require more finesse and strategic play to realize their potential. The lower the cards, the less likely they are to win without improvement, making them more speculative. However, they can be powerful in multi-way pots where the potential for disguised straights or flushes can catch opponents off guard. Players must be adept at reading the board and understanding the dynamics of the table to maximize the value of low-suited connectors. High-suited connectors, like 10-jack suited or 9-10 suited, offer a stronger initial hand value due to their higher card strength. These hands are more likely to win with top pair or even second pair, which increases their playability in a variety of situations. The ability to form straights and flushes remains, but the added benefit of higher card strength provides more opportunities to apply pressure on opponents. High-suited connectors are often more effective in heads-up scenarios, or when facing a single opponent, where the likelihood of top pair being the best hand increases. The situational advantages of low-suited connectors often come into play in deep stack situations or when facing multiple opponents. In these contexts, the potential to hit a well-disguised straight or flush can lead to significant pots. Players should be cautious, however, as these hands can lead to difficult post-flop decisions if the board does not improve their hand. Position plays a crucial role in deciding whether to enter a pot with low-suited connectors. Being in a later position allows players to see the actions of opponents before committing chips, providing valuable information that can guide their decision-making. High-suited connectors, on the other hand, thrive in aggressive play. Their ability to make strong pairs and draw to powerful hands makes them ideal candidates for raising and re-raising, especially in situations where they can isolate an opponent. The higher card strength means they are more likely to win at showdown without improvement, which can justify more aggressive lines. Players should still be mindful of their position and the tendencies of their opponents, as overplaying high-suited connectors can lead to unnecessary losses. Stack sizes also influence the strategy for playing suited connectors. With deeper stacks, players have more flexibility to see flops and potentially turn their speculative hands into strong holdings. This is particularly true for low-suited connectors, where the ability to see more streets increases the chances of hitting a disguised hand. In contrast, with shorter stacks, high-suited connectors gain more value, as the potential to win smaller pots with top pair becomes more significant. The reduced stack depth limits the ability to chase draws, making the immediate strength of high-suited connectors more appealing. Effectively playing both low and high-suited connectors requires an understanding of the table dynamics and the ability to adjust strategies based on the situation. Players should be aware of their opponent's tendencies and the overall flow of the game, using this information to decide when to be aggressive and when to exercise caution. By leveraging the unique characteristics of each type of suited connector, players can enhance their overall effectiveness at the poker table, turning speculative hands into valuable assets. Double-suited runouts occur when the flop presents two cards of the same suit, creating a potential flush draw for players holding suited connectors. This scenario can significantly enhance the value of these hands, as it opens up the possibility of hitting a flush on the turn or river. The presence of two suits on the board means that players with suited connectors have a chance to draw to a flush, even if their initial hand didn't immediately connect with the flop. Recognizing the potential for a backdoor flush draw is crucial, as it allows players to plan their post-flop strategy more effectively and decide whether to continue in the hand. Assessing backdoor equity involves evaluating the likelihood of completing a strong hand on later streets. With suited connectors, players must consider not only the potential for a flush, but also the possibility of forming straights or even two pairs. The key is to weigh the probability of improving against the size of the pot and the likelihood of opponents folding to pressure. Players should calculate the odds of hitting their desired draw and compare this to the pot odds being offered. If the implied odds are favorable, continuing with the hand can be justified, especially if the potential payout is significant. Board texture plays a pivotal role in determining the strength of suited connectors on double-suited runouts. A board that features coordinated cards, such as a 7, 8, and 9, can enhance the value of suited connectors, like 6, 5, or 9, 10. These hands have the potential to form straights while also drawing to a flush. Conversely, a disconnected board with high cards may not provide the same opportunities, requiring players to reassess their strategy. Understanding how the board texture interacts with suited connectors is essential for making informed decisions and maximizing potential value. Opponent tendencies are another critical factor to consider when playing suited connectors on double-suited boards. Aggressive opponents may be more likely to bet or raise, creating opportunities for players to extract value by calling or re-raising with a strong draw. Conversely, passive opponents may allow players to see additional cards at a lower cost, increasing the chances of completing a draw. Observing opponents' betting patterns and adjusting strategies accordingly can provide an edge in extracting value from suited connectors. When hitting draws on double-suited boards, players should employ tactics that maximize their potential returns. One effective strategy is to apply pressure through semi-bluffing, where players bet or raise with a strong draw, representing a made hand. This approach can force opponents to fold weaker hands, allowing the player to win the pot outright or build a larger pot for when the draw completes. It's important to size bets appropriately to maintain fold equity, while also considering the potential for opponents to call with stronger holdings. Another tactic involves slow playing when the draw completes, particularly if the board texture suggests that opponents may have also hit strong hands. By checking or calling, players can induce bets from opponents on later streets, extracting additional value from the completed draw. This approach requires careful consideration of opponents' likely holdings and their willingness to bet, as well as the overall dynamics of the table. In summary, double-suited runouts present unique opportunities for players holding suited connectors, offering the potential for backdoor flush draws and other strong hands. By assessing backdoor equity, considering board texture, and adapting to opponent tendencies, players can effectively navigate these situations to maximize value. Employing tactics such as semi-bluffing and slow playing can further enhance the potential returns from suited connectors on double-suited boards. Tilt in poker is a state of mental or emotional frustration that can lead players to deviate from their optimal strategy. It often arises after a particularly frustrating hand or session, such as losing with suited connectors. Suited connectors, like 6-5 suited or 9-8 suited, hold the promise of potential straights and flushes, making their losses feel particularly bitter. When a player invests heavily in a hand with these cards only to see the pot slip away, the disappointment can be profound. Recognizing the onset of tilt is crucial for maintaining control and making sound decisions at the table. Common signs of tilt include increased aggression, such as making larger bets or raises without proper justification. Players may also start playing more hands than usual, deviating from their typical strategy in an attempt to recoup losses. Emotional reactions, like visible frustration, irritability, or a noticeable shift in demeanor, are telltale signs that tilt is taking hold. Recognizing these behaviors in oneself or others can be the first step in addressing the issue. The psychological impact of losing with suited connectors can be significant. These hands, while not premium, offer the allure of catching opponents off guard with unexpected straights or flushes. When the potential goes unrealized, players might feel a sense of injustice or bad luck, particularly if they were close to completing a strong hand. This perceived unfairness can amplify emotions, leading to decisions driven by frustration rather than logic. Managing emotions after losing with suited connectors requires a deliberate approach. One effective strategy is to take a moment to breathe and assess the situation. This pause can prevent knee-jerk reactions and allow players to regain their focus. Another method is to mentally review the hand, analyzing whether the decisions made were sound, given the information available at the time. This can help players learn from the experience, rather than dwell on the loss. Taking breaks is also essential in regaining composure. Stepping away from the table, even briefly, can provide the mental reset needed to return with a clear head. During this time, players can engage in activities that distract from the immediate frustration, such as taking a walk or engaging in light conversation. This break from the intensity of the game can help dissipate negative emotions and restore a sense of calm. Self-reflection plays a critical role in managing tilt. After a session, players should take the time to evaluate their emotional responses and the decisions made during the game. Reflecting on what triggered the tilt and how it affected play can provide valuable insights for future sessions. This process of self-assessment encourages growth and helps players develop strategies to prevent tilt from affecting their game in the future. Incorporating these strategies into regular play can build resilience against tilt. By recognizing the signs and taking proactive steps to manage emotions, players can maintain their composure and make informed decisions at the table. This approach not only improves performance, but also enhances the overall enjoyment of the game, turning setbacks into opportunities for growth and learning. Suited connectors, such as 7-6 suited or 8-9 suited, hold the promise of potential straights and flushes. Yet, not every flop will align with these aspirations. When they miss their draws, the emotional pull to chase can be strong. Players often experience a mix of disappointment and frustration, feeling as if an opportunity slipped through their fingers. This emotional response can cloud judgment, leading to decisions that are more reactive than strategic. Recognizing these feelings is the first step in maintaining composure. Players must remind themselves that poker is a game of long-term strategy, where patience often yields better results than impulsive actions. Reassessing hand strength after a missed draw is crucial. When the flop does not improve suited connectors, it's important to reevaluate the situation. Consider the board texture and how it interacts with potential opponent ranges. A dry board with little coordination might offer fewer opportunities for opponents to have strong hands, while a wet board could indicate potential strength from others. Players should also factor in their position at the table. Being in a later position allows for more information before making a decision. This can guide whether to continue with a hand or to fold and wait for a better opportunity. Pot odds and implied odds are essential considerations in these situations. Pot odds refer to the ratio of the current size of the pot to the size of the bet a player must call. If the odds of completing a draw are better than the pot odds, it might be worth continuing with the hand. Implied odds take this a step further, considering the potential future bets that can be won if the draw completes. Players should calculate these odds carefully, ensuring that any decision to chase a draw is grounded in mathematical reasoning rather than emotion. Discipline is key to avoiding impulsive moves. When faced with the allure of a potential draw, players should take a moment to pause and reflect on the broader context of the game. Are they in a position to afford the risk, or would folding preserve their stack for a more favorable situation? Maintaining a disciplined approach involves setting clear thresholds for when to continue with a hand and when to let it go. This involves not only mathematical calculations, but also a keen understanding of table dynamics and opponent tendencies. Techniques for staying disciplined include setting personal rules for play. For example, a player might decide only to chase draws when they have a certain number of outs, or when the pot odds are particularly favorable. Another technique is to practice mindfulness at the table. By staying present and focused, players can resist the urge to chase losses or make hasty decisions. Taking deep breaths and reminding oneself of the broader strategy can help maintain clarity and composure, even in the face of disappointment. Finally, players should remember that poker is a game of variance. Not every hand will result in a win, and missed draws are an inherent part of the game. By accepting this reality, players can approach each hand with a balanced mindset, ready to make decisions based on logic rather than emotion. This acceptance can lead to more consistent play and a more enjoyable poker experience overall. Reviewing poker hands after a session is an essential practice for any serious player, particularly when it comes to suited connectors. These hands, such as 6-5 suited or 10-9 suited, offer intriguing possibilities and require nuanced play. By analyzing how these hands were played, both pre-flop and post-flop, players can gain valuable insights into their decision-making processes and identify areas for improvement. The act of reviewing hands serves as a learning tool, allowing players to understand the effectiveness of their strategies and adjust their approach for future games. When reviewing suited connector hands, one should first consider the context of each hand. This includes the position at the table, stack sizes, and the behavior of opponents. Position plays a crucial role in poker strategy, as it dictates the amount of information available before making a decision. For instance, playing suited connectors from early position requires different considerations than from late position. In early position, the lack of information about opponents' actions can make these hands more challenging to play, often necessitating a tighter strategy. Conversely, in late position, the added information can allow for more aggressive plays, such as raising or calling with suited connectors to exploit the table dynamics. Another critical factor to analyze is the pre-flop decision-making process. Players should reflect on whether they chose to raise, call, or fold with their suited connectors, and why. Understanding the rationale behind these decisions can reveal patterns in playstyle and highlight potential areas for refinement. For example, if a player consistently calls with suited connectors in situations where a raise might have been more advantageous, it may indicate a need to incorporate more aggression into their strategy. Similarly, if a player frequently folds suited connectors that could have been profitable, it might suggest an overly cautious approach that could be adjusted. Post-flop play offers another layer of complexity and opportunity for analysis. Players should examine how they navigated the flop, turn, and river with their suited connectors. Did they continue to bet aggressively when they hit a draw or made a hand? or did they opt for a more passive approach, checking or calling? Evaluating these decisions can help players understand how they are managing pot sizes and whether they are effectively leveraging their hand's potential. Identifying tendencies, such as overcommitting to weak draws or failing to extract value from strong hands, can guide players in refining their post-flop strategy. Patterns often emerge during the review process, shedding light on a player's strengths and weaknesses. Recognizing these patterns is crucial for growth and improvement. For instance, a player may notice a tendency to chase draws too often, leading to unnecessary chip loss. By identifying this pattern, they can work on developing more disciplined play, focusing on situations where the odds justify the risk. Conversely, if a player finds that they are not capitalizing on opportunities to build pots with strong draws, they can adjust their strategy to incorporate more aggressive betting when appropriate. Self-reflection is an integral part of the review process, fostering a mindset geared towards continuous improvement. Players should take the time to consider their emotional responses during play and how these may have influenced their decisions. Were there moments of frustration or overconfidence that led to suboptimal plays? Understanding the emotional aspects of decision-making can help players develop greater emotional control and resilience. This self-awareness contributes to a more balanced approach at the table, reducing the impact of tilt and enhancing overall performance. By engaging in regular post-session reviews of suited connector hands, players can build a comprehensive understanding of their play style and make informed adjustments. This practice not only enhances strategic thinking, but also cultivates a mindset of growth and adaptability. As players refine their approach to suited connectors, they become better equipped to navigate the complexities of poker, ultimately leading to more successful outcomes at the table. In the grand tapestry of poker tournaments, suited connectors have woven moments of drama and intrigue that captivate players and audiences alike. One such iconic hand occurred during the World Series of Poker main event in 2003. Chris Moneymaker, an amateur player, held 5-4 of spades. The hand began with Moneymaker calling a raise from Sam Farha, who held a pair of nines. The flop came down with 3 hearts, offering Moneymaker a backdoor flush draw and a gut-shot straight draw. The turn brought a 4, giving him a pair, and the river delivered a 5, completing his straight. This hand not only propelled Moneymaker to victory, but also sparked a global poker boom, showcasing the potential of suited connectors to turn the tide in a high-stakes game. Another memorable moment unfolded during the European Poker Tour in Monte Carlo in 2008. Gavin Griffin, holding 7-6 of hearts, faced a formidable opponent in Mark Karam. The flop presented a rainbow of cards, offering Griffin an open-ended straight draw. Karam bet aggressively, but Griffin, sensing an opportunity, called. The turn revealed a heart, enhancing Griffin's draw with a flush possibility. As the river card completed his flush, Griffin executed a strategic bet that compelled Karam to fold, securing a pivotal pot. This hand demonstrated the strategic depth suited connectors can provide, allowing players to outmaneuver their opponents with calculated risks and well-timed aggression. In the 2010 World Series of Poker, another suited connector hand etched its place in history. Michael Mizrachi, known for his aggressive style, held 8-7 of clubs. The flop was a mix of low cards that granted Mizrachi a double gut-shot straight draw. His opponent, with a strong pair, applied pressure with a substantial bet. Mizrachi, undeterred, called. The turn card was a club, adding a flush draw to his arsenal. On the river, a 6 completed Mizrachi's straight, allowing him to seize the pot with a well-executed bluff that left his opponent reeling. This hand underscored the power of suited connectors, to transform seemingly modest holdings into formidable winners when played with precision and nerve. Suited connectors also played a pivotal role in the 2014 World Series of Poker main event. Martin Jacobson, who eventually claimed the championship, found himself with 10-9 of hearts in a crucial hand. The board revealed a mix of high and low cards, leaving Jacobson with an open-ended straight draw. His opponent, holding a strong pair, bet heavily. Jacobson, leveraging his position and the potential of his draw, called. The turn and river completed his straight, allowing him to extract maximum value from his opponent. This hand highlighted the strategic foresight required to navigate the complexities of suited connectors, demonstrating their ability to shift the momentum of a game. The emotional impact of these hands extends beyond the felt, resonating with audiences who witness the unfolding drama. The thrill of watching a player turn a speculative hand into a winning combination captures the essence of poker's unpredictability. These moments serve as a reminder of the game's inherent excitement, where skill and luck intertwine to create unforgettable narratives. For players, the lessons gleaned from these iconic suited connector plays emphasize the importance of patience, timing, and adaptability. Understanding when to pursue a draw or apply pressure can make the difference between a fleeting opportunity and a celebrated victory. As players reflect on these legendary hands, they are inspired to embrace the potential of suited connectors, recognizing the strategic depth and exhilarating possibilities they bring to the game. In the 2004 World Poker Tour Championship, suited connectors took center stage in a hand that would be remembered for its dramatic turn of events. Daniel Negreanu, a player known for his keen ability to read opponents, found himself holding 8-7 of hearts. As the hand unfolded, the flop revealed 2 hearts and a 5, giving Negreanu a flush draw and a gut-shot straight draw. His opponent, with a strong top pair, bet aggressively, attempting to push Negreanu off his draw. However, Negreanu, confident in the potential of his hand, decided to call. The turn brought another heart, completing his flush. With the river card not altering the board significantly, Negreanu executed a well-timed bet that forced his opponent to fold, securing a substantial pot. This hand exemplified the power of suited connectors to create winning opportunities through strategic patience and the ability to capitalize on favorable board developments. In the 2006 European Poker Tour, suited connectors were again at the forefront of a thrilling victory. Patrick Antonius, holding 6-5 of spades, faced a challenging opponent who had been dominating the table with aggressive play. The flop came down with a mix of low cards, offering Antonius an open-ended straight draw. His opponent, holding a strong overpair, bet heavily. Antonius, recognizing the potential of his draw, called the bet. The turn card was a spade, adding a flush draw to his arsenal. On the river, a 4 completed his straight, allowing him to execute a strategic check raise that left his opponent no choice but to fold. This hand highlighted the importance of reading opponents and understanding when to apply pressure, showcasing the strategic depth that suited connectors can offer when played with precision and foresight. The 2009 World Series of Poker main event saw another iconic moment with suited connectors. Joe Cada, who would go on to win the tournament, held 9-8 of diamonds in a pivotal hand. The flop revealed a mix of low and high cards, presenting Cada with a gut-shot straight draw and a backdoor flush possibility. His opponent, with top pair, bet aggressively, attempting to protect his hand. Cada, undeterred by the pressure, called, trusting in the potential of his draw. The turn brought a diamond, enhancing his flush draw. On the river, a 7 completed his straight, enabling him to take down a significant pot with a well-timed bet that his opponent could not call. This hand underscored the value of maintaining composure and the willingness to pursue draws when the situation warrants, illustrating the thrilling unpredictability that suited connectors can bring to the game. In the 2015 World Series of Poker Europe, suited connectors played a crucial role in a memorable victory. Kevin McPhee, holding 10-9 of spades, faced a formidable opponent with a reputation for tight play. The flop came down with 2 spades and a queen, giving McPhee a flush draw. His opponent, holding top pair, bet confidently, attempting to assert dominance. McPhee, sensing an opportunity, called the bet. The turn card was a blank, not improving McPhee's hand, but he remained steadfast in his strategy. The river delivered the 3rd spade, completing his flush. McPhee placed a calculated bet that pressured his opponent into folding, securing a pivotal pot that contributed to his eventual victory. This hand demonstrated the importance of patience and the ability to seize opportunities when they arise, showcasing the strategic potential of suited connectors in high-stakes play. These iconic wins with suited connectors are celebrated not only for their immediate impact on the game, but also for the emotional highs and lows they evoke in both players and spectators. The tension of drawing to a flush or straight, the strategic decisions made under pressure, and the ultimate triumph of turning a speculative hand into a winning one encapsulate the essence of poker. Players who master the art of playing suited connectors understand the delicate balance of risk and reward, knowing when to call, raise, or fold, based on the dynamics of the table and the potential of their hand. As these stories of victory illustrate, suited connectors hold a special place in the lore of poker, offering players the chance to create memorable moments that resonate long after the final card is dealt. Suited connectors, those intriguing hands like 7-6 of hearts or 10-9 of clubs, often find themselves at the center of poker myths. One common myth is that suited connectors are always weak hands, not worth playing unless in late position or against weak opponents. This misconception stems from their inherent speculative nature. Unlike premium hands such as pocket aces or kings, suited connectors require more finesse and understanding of the game's dynamics. However, when played correctly, they can yield significant rewards. Their strength lies in their ability to form straights, flushes, and even straight flushes, making them formidable in the right circumstances. Another myth suggests that suited connectors are best avoided unless you have a deep stack. While it's true that having a larger stack allows more flexibility in speculative play, suited connectors can still be valuable with shorter stacks, especially in tournament settings. The key is understanding the implied odds and potential for growth. Players often underestimate the power of suited connectors in building large pots when they hit their draws. This potential for explosive growth can turn a modest hand into a game changer, especially when opponents misjudge your holdings. A prevalent misconception is that suited connectors rarely win significant pots. This myth likely arises from the visibility of premium hands in highlight reels and televised games. However, the success of suited connectors often comes from their ability to win pots without showdown. Skilled players use them to apply pressure and extract value through strategic betting and bluffing. By representing a wide range of possible hands, suited connectors can force opponents into difficult decisions, often leading to folds that secure the pot. The belief that suited connectors are only playable in multiway pots is another myth that deserves debunking. While having more players in a hand increases the potential payout if a draw hits, suited connectors can be equally effective in heads-up situations. In one-on-one play, their ability to disguise hand strength and manipulate pot dynamics becomes even more pronounced. This adaptability makes them versatile tools in a poker player's arsenal, capable of adjusting to various table conditions and opponent tendencies. Some players mistakenly think that suited connectors should never be played from early position. While caution is warranted, dismissing them entirely overlooks their potential to set traps and build deceptive lines. When played with a solid understanding of table dynamics and opponent behavior, suited connectors can surprise and unsettle opponents who expect only strong hands from early position. This unpredictability can lead to profitable situations, especially when opponents underestimate the potential of these hands. The myth that suited connectors are only useful for bluffing further clouds their true value. While they indeed offer excellent bluffing opportunities, their strength lies in their ability to transform into strong hands post-flop. Recognizing when to shift from bluffing to value betting is crucial in maximizing their potential. By understanding board textures and opponent tendencies, players can navigate these transitions smoothly, leveraging suited connectors to their fullest extent. Lastly, there's a misconception that suited connectors are not suitable for beginners. While they do require a nuanced understanding of poker strategy, introducing them to new players can enhance their learning experience. Suited connectors teach the importance of position, implied odds, and reading opponents, all fundamental skills in poker. By dispelling the myth that they are too complex for beginners, we open the door for new players to explore their strategic depth and develop a more rounded approach to the game. In poker, myths can obscure the true potential of suited connectors, leading players to overlook their value. By debunking these misconceptions, players can approach these hands with a more informed and strategic mindset, unlocking their full potential at the table. Understanding the nuanced strengths of suited connectors allows players to harness their power, turning speculative opportunities into winning realities. Suited connectors, those intriguing hands like 8-7 of diamonds or 9-8 of spades, offer a unique blend of potential and complexity in Texas Hold'em. For beginners, understanding these hands can be a gateway to appreciating the deeper strategies of poker. Suited connectors are not about raw power like pocket aces, but about the potential to create strong hands through straights and flushes. This potential makes them a valuable tool for teaching strategic thinking and risk assessment. When introducing beginners to suited connectors, start with the basics. Explain that these hands consist of consecutive cards of the same suit, like 6-5 of hearts. Their strength lies in their ability to form straights and flushes, which can be powerful in the right situations. Unlike high pairs, suited connectors require more finesse and a keen understanding of the game's dynamics. They thrive on the potential for growth, making them ideal for teaching the importance of implied odds, an essential concept in poker strategy. Practical examples are invaluable when teaching beginners about suited connectors. Use scenarios to illustrate how these hands can evolve from speculative beginnings to winning combinations. For instance, demonstrate how a hand like 7-6 of clubs can develop into a straight with a favorable flop. Walk through the betting rounds, explaining the decisions at each stage. Highlight the importance of position, as suited connectors often perform better when played from later positions, where more information is available. Hands-on learning can further solidify these concepts. Encourage beginners to practice playing suited connectors in low-stakes games or online simulations. This experience allows them to see firsthand how these hands can transform and the conditions that make them successful. Discuss the role of patience and timing, emphasizing that suited connectors are not always playable. Knowing when to fold is just as crucial as knowing when to push forward. Confidence is key for beginners, learning to play suited connectors. Instill confidence by reinforcing the idea that making mistakes is part of the learning process. Encourage them to analyze their hands after each session, identifying what worked and what didn't. This reflection helps build a deeper understanding of the game and fosters a growth mindset. Reinforce the notion that poker is a game of skill, and mastering suited connectors is a step toward becoming a more well-rounded player. Beginners often face common pitfalls when playing suited connectors. One such pitfall is overvaluing these hands, simply because they are suited and connected. Teach them to assess the context of the game, considering factors like position, stack sizes, and opponent tendencies before deciding to play. Another common mistake is chasing draws without considering the pot odds. Help them understand the importance of calculating pot odds to determine whether chasing a draw is a profitable decision. Address these pitfalls by providing clear guidelines. For example, suggest that beginners avoid playing suited connectors from early position, where the lack of information can lead to costly mistakes. Encourage them to focus on playing these hands from the button or cutoff, where they can leverage their position to gather more information before acting. Emphasize the value of discipline and the willingness to fold when the odds are not in their favor. By teaching beginners about suited connectors, you open the door to a deeper understanding of poker strategy. These hands offer a perfect blend of risk and reward, requiring players to think critically and adapt to changing circumstances. Through practical examples, hands-on learning, and a focus on building confidence, beginners can learn to navigate the complexities of suited connectors. In doing so, they lay the foundation for a successful and enjoyable poker journey, armed with the skills to tackle the game with confidence and insight. Suited connectors, such as 7-6 of hearts or 8-9 of spades, offer a tantalizing blend of potential and complexity in Texas Hold'em. These hands are not about immediate power, but about the potential to develop into strong holdings like straights and flushes. Patience is a critical component when playing these hands, as their true strength often lies in their ability to evolve over multiple betting rounds. Waiting for the right moments to capitalize on suited connectors can transform a modest hand into a winning one, provided the player exercises discipline and strategic timing. Patience plays a pivotal role in maximizing the potential of suited connectors. Unlike premium hands, suited connectors rarely dominate pre-flop and require the right board texture to shine. The key to unlocking their potential lies in waiting for favorable situations, such as when the flop provides straight or flush draw possibilities. This patient approach allows players to extract maximum value from their hands while minimizing unnecessary risk. By resisting the urge to play these hands aggressively in unfavorable conditions, players position themselves for greater success when the board cooperates. Several situational factors warrant a patient approach when playing suited connectors. Position at the table is one such factor. Being in a late position offers the advantage of observing opponents' actions before committing to the pot. This additional information can guide decisions on whether to continue with a suited connector hand. Stack sizes also influence the level of patience required. With deeper stacks, players have more room to maneuver and can afford to wait for optimal situations. Conversely, short stacks may necessitate a more cautious approach, as the margin for error is smaller. Recognizing when to fold versus when to play aggressively is a crucial skill when dealing with suited connectors. Not every flop will be favorable, and knowing when to let go of a hand is as important as knowing when to push forward. For instance, if the flop does not provide any draw potential and the betting action is strong, folding may be the best course of action. On the other hand, if the flop offers a straight or flush draw, an aggressive approach may be warranted to build the pot and apply pressure on opponents. This decision-making process requires a keen understanding of the game's dynamics and a willingness to adapt based on the situation. The psychological benefits of maintaining patience at the table are significant. Patience allows players to remain calm and composed, reducing the likelihood of making impulsive decisions. It fosters a mindset of strategic thinking, where players focus on long-term success rather than short-term gains. By embracing patience, players can avoid the pitfalls of tilt and emotional decision-making, which can be detrimental to their overall performance. This disciplined approach not only enhances a player's ability to make sound decisions, but also contributes to a more enjoyable and fulfilling poker experience. In conclusion, patience is an invaluable asset when playing suited connectors in Texas Hold'em. By waiting for the right moments to capitalize on these hands, players can unlock their full potential and achieve greater success at the table. Understanding the importance of patience, along with recognizing situational factors and making informed decisions, can lead to more favorable outcomes and a deeper appreciation for the strategic nuances of the game. Suited connectors, such as 6-5 of diamonds or 9-8 of clubs, present a unique opportunity for players to engage in speculative play. These hands, while not inherently strong, hold the potential to evolve into powerful combinations. The essence of speculative play lies in the willingness to take calculated risks, assessing the potential for strong outcomes while maintaining a disciplined approach. This method of play is not about reckless aggression, but rather a strategic exploration of possibilities where discipline becomes the cornerstone of effective decision-making. The discipline in playing suited connectors stems from the need to evaluate situations carefully and make informed decisions. This involves understanding the nuances of position, stack sizes, and opponent tendencies. For instance, when holding a hand like 7-6 suited, the decision to enter a pot should be influenced by factors such as being in a late position, where the player has the advantage of observing others before acting. This observational edge allows for more informed decisions, reducing the risk of entering unfavorable situations. Maintaining discipline with suited connectors requires adherence to key principles. One such principle is the recognition of when to fold. Not every hand needs to be played, and understanding when to let go of a speculative hand is crucial. If the conditions are not right, such as facing a strong pre-flop raise from a tight opponent, folding can conserve chips for more favorable opportunities. Another principle is the judicious use of aggression. While suited connectors can benefit from aggressive play, especially when they hit draws, it is important to avoid overcommitting to pots without sufficient equity or potential for improvement. Evaluating risk versus reward is a fundamental aspect of speculative play with suited connectors. This involves assessing the potential upside of a hand against the current investment required. For example, entering a pot with 8-7 suited in a multiway situation might offer significant upside if the flop provides a strong draw. However, if the cost of entry is too high, or the likelihood of hitting a favorable board is low, the risk may outweigh the potential reward. This constant evaluation helps players make decisions that align with their overall strategy and chip preservation goals. Self-control and emotional regulation play a significant role in speculative play. The ability to remain calm and composed, even when faced with challenging situations, is vital. Emotional reactions can lead to impulsive decisions, such as chasing draws without proper odds, or making bluffs without considering the opponent's likely response. By exercising self-control, players can maintain focus on their long-term strategy, avoiding the pitfalls of tilt and emotional decision-making that can erode their chip stack and confidence. The journey of mastering speculative play with suited connectors is one of continuous learning and adaptation. Each hand presents an opportunity to refine one's approach, understanding the delicate balance between risk and reward. Through disciplined play, players can develop a deeper appreciation for the strategic intricacies of poker, enhancing their overall game and increasing their chances of success at the table. This disciplined approach not only improves a player's technical skills, but also fosters a mindset of patience and strategic thinking, essential qualities for any successful poker player. Equity in poker refers to the share of the pot a player can expect to win on average, given their current hand and the possible future cards. For suited connectors, understanding equity is crucial, because these hands often rely on their potential to improve rather than their immediate strength. Calculating equity involves considering the number of outs, or cards that can improve a hand, and comparing this to the total possible outcomes. For example, with a hand like 8-7 of hearts, if the flop comes with 2 hearts, the player has a flush draw. This means there are 9 remaining hearts in the deck that can complete a flush, providing a substantial equity boost. Pot odds are another essential concept in poker mathematics. They represent the ratio of the current size of the pot to the size of the bet a player must call. If a player needs to call a $20 bet to win a pot, that will be $100 after the call. The pot odds are 5-1. Comparing pot odds to the odds of completing a draw helps players decide whether to call, fold, or raise. With suited connectors, pot odds become particularly important when deciding whether to chase draws, such as straights or flushes. If the pot odds are favorable, continuing with the hand can be justified. Implied odds extend the concept of pot odds by considering the potential future bets a player can win if their draw completes. Suited connectors often benefit from high implied odds because when they hit, they can form strong hands that are well disguised, potentially leading opponents to commit more chips. For instance, if a player holds 6-5 suited and flops an open-ended straight draw, the implied odds consider not just the current pot, but also the additional bets that could be won if the straight is completed on the turn or river. Situational factors play a significant role in equity assessments for suited connectors. Position at the table, the number of opponents, and the texture of the board all influence the decision-making process. Being in a late position allows players to gather more information before acting, which can improve the accuracy of equity calculations. Additionally, the number of opponents affects the likelihood of facing stronger hands, which can impact the perceived equity of suited connectors. A board with coordinated cards, such as consecutive or suited cards, can increase the potential for draws, altering the equity landscape. Understanding opponent ranges is critical when evaluating equity with suited connectors. Ranges refer to the spectrum of hands an opponent might hold in a given situation. By assessing the likely hands an opponent could have, players can better estimate their own equity. For example, if an opponent is known to play tightly, their range might include mostly strong hands, which could decrease the equity of a suited connector hand. Conversely, if an opponent plays loosely, their range might include weaker hands, potentially increasing the equity of a suited connector. Incorporating these mathematical concepts into poker strategy allows players to make more informed decisions. By understanding equity, pot odds, implied odds, and opponent ranges, players can better assess the potential of suited connectors and decide when to play aggressively or cautiously. This analytical approach enhances a player's ability to navigate complex situations and capitalize on the strengths of suited connectors, ultimately improving their overall game. Balancing the art of bluffing and value betting with suited connectors involves a delicate dance of strategy and intuition. Suited connectors, such as 9-8 suited or 7-6 suited, offer players the flexibility to shift between representing strong hands and actualizing their potential to hit powerful draws. This dual nature makes them a favorite tool in the arsenal of both seasoned professionals and ambitious novices. The ability to blur the lines between bluff and value can lead to confusion among opponents, creating opportunities to exploit their uncertainty. The significance of finding the right balance between bluffing and value betting cannot be overstated. In poker, bluffing involves betting or raising with a weaker hand to induce folds from stronger hands. Value betting, on the other hand, aims to extract maximum chips from opponents when holding a superior hand. Suited connectors are uniquely positioned to perform both roles due to their potential to develop into strong hands on later streets. By mastering this balance, players can keep their opponents off guard, forcing them into difficult decisions and increasing the likelihood of making profitable plays. Ideal scenarios for bluffing with suited connectors often arise when the board texture is favorable for representing a strong hand. For instance, if the flop comes with 3 low cards of different suits, a player holding suited connectors might choose to bluff, suggesting they have connected with a strong hand like a set or 2 pair. The key is to assess the likelihood of opponents holding stronger hands, and to gauge their willingness to fold. Bluffing becomes especially effective when opponents show signs of weakness, such as checking or making small bets, indicating they may not have a strong hand themselves. Conversely, value betting with suited connectors is most effective when the hand has improved to a strong draw or made hand. For example, if a player flops a flush draw or an open-ended straight draw, they can bet for value, knowing they have significant equity if called. The goal is to build the pot while the odds are in their favor, potentially leading to a big payoff if the draw completes. Value betting also serves to protect against opponents who might be drawing to stronger hands, putting pressure on them to make costly calls. Position and table dynamics play a critical role in deciding when to bluff or value bet with suited connectors. Being in a late position provides the advantage of observing opponents' actions before making a decision, allowing for more informed plays. If opponents show weakness by checking or calling small bets, it might be an opportune moment to bluff, leveraging position to apply pressure. Conversely, if the table is aggressive and opponents are making large bets, it may be wiser to exercise caution, as the likelihood of running into strong hands increases. Strategies for identifying when to shift between bluffing and value betting require keen observation and adaptability. Players must constantly evaluate the board texture, opponent tendencies, and the flow of the game. Recognizing patterns in opponents' behavior, such as their reaction to previous bluffs or value bets, can provide valuable insights. For instance, if an opponent frequently folds to aggression, it might be beneficial to lean towards bluffing. Conversely, if an opponent often calls down bets, focusing on value betting when holding strong draws or made hands could prove more profitable. The dynamic nature of poker demands that players remain flexible, ready to adjust their strategies as the game evolves. By mastering the balance between bluffing and value betting with suited connectors, players can create a dynamic and unpredictable style of play. This approach not only enhances their chances of winning pots, but also keeps opponents guessing, unable to discern the true strength of the player's hand. Through practice and experience, players can refine their ability to navigate these lines, ultimately enhancing their overall poker strategy. Suited connectors, like 8-7 suited or 10-9 suited, are hands that thrive on potential rather than immediate strength. They are the embodiment of poker's speculative nature, often requiring players to trust in the process rather than the immediate outcome. The journey with suited connectors begins pre-flop, where decisions are made based on position, table dynamics, and stack sizes. These hands are rarely played for their face value alone. Instead, they are played for the potential to create strong post-flop scenarios. This requires a mindset that embraces the process of drawing and developing hands over multiple streets. The importance of process-oriented thinking in poker cannot be overstated, particularly when playing hands like suited connectors. Process-oriented thinking involves focusing on making the best possible decisions based on the information available, rather than fixating on the results of individual hands. This approach helps players maintain a steady course, allowing them to navigate the ups and downs inherent in poker. By concentrating on the quality of their decisions, players can ensure that they are consistently making plays that are likely to be profitable in the long run. Developing a consistent approach to playing suited connectors involves understanding the nuances of these hands in various situations. Pre-flop, players must consider factors such as position and table dynamics. In early position, it may be prudent to fold or play cautiously, as the likelihood of facing raises from later positions is higher. In contrast, suited connectors can be more aggressively played from late position, where players have the advantage of seeing how the table acts before making their decision. This consistency in approach helps players manage their expectations and reduces the emotional roller coaster that can come with speculative hands. Patience and persistence are key virtues when playing suited connectors. These hands often require players to wait for the right opportunities to maximize their potential. It can be tempting to force the action with suited connectors, especially when the flop does not immediately present a favorable scenario. However, recognizing when to exercise patience is crucial. Players must persist through the initial stages of a hand, waiting for the right board textures and opponent actions that allow them to capitalize on their hand's potential. This patience can lead to rewarding outcomes when the hand develops favorably. The psychological benefits of trusting the process with suited connectors are significant. By focusing on the process rather than the outcome, players can reduce the stress and frustration that often accompany the game of poker. This mindset allows players to remain calm and composed, even when faced with challenging situations. Trusting the process helps players build resilience, as they learn to accept that not every hand will result in a win, but that consistent and thoughtful play will yield positive results over time. This approach fosters a deeper connection to the game, as players come to appreciate the strategic depth and complexity of poker. In the realm of suited connectors, trusting the process means embracing the journey of each hand. It involves making informed decisions based on the current situation, while remaining open to the potential that each street of play holds. By adopting a process-oriented mindset, players can navigate the uncertainties of poker with confidence, knowing that their strategic approach will guide them towards success in the long run. Suited connectors, with their promise of transformation from modest beginnings to powerful hands, serve as a reminder of the value of patience, persistence, and trust in one's strategy. Variance in poker refers to the natural fluctuations in outcomes that occur due to the random nature of the game. It's an integral aspect of poker that can lead to periods of both winning and losing, independent of a player's skill level. Suited connectors, such as 7-6 of spades, exemplify hands that can be deeply affected by variance, given their speculative nature and reliance on hitting favorable boards. Understanding and embracing variance is crucial for players who wish to maintain their composure and continue to make sound decisions over the long run. Managing emotions amidst variance is a skill that separates seasoned players from novices. When playing suited connectors, it's essential to recognize that not every hand will result in a win, and sometimes well-played hands will lead to losses due to variance. Developing a calm and steady mindset can help players navigate these swings more effectively. Techniques such as deep breathing, taking short breaks, and focusing on the process rather than immediate outcomes can assist in maintaining emotional balance. By acknowledging that variance is an inevitable part of the game, players can reduce the emotional impact of unfavorable outcomes and prevent them from affecting subsequent decisions. Maintaining perspective during swings is vital for long-term success in poker. It involves understanding that short-term results do not define a player's skill or potential. Suited connectors often require players to engage in speculative play, which naturally involves a higher degree of variance. By keeping a broader view of their poker journey, players can remind themselves that variance will even out over time, and consistent strategic play will yield positive results. This perspective helps players avoid the pitfalls of tilt, where emotional responses to variance lead to poor decision-making and further losses. Cultivating a resilient mindset is another key component in dealing with variance. Resilience allows players to bounce back from losses and continue to play their best game. It involves developing a mental framework that focuses on learning and growth rather than immediate success. Players can build resilience by reviewing their hands and analyzing their decisions post-session, identifying areas for improvement and reinforcing positive strategies. This reflective practice helps players to see variance as an opportunity for learning, rather than a setback, fostering a mindset that is adaptable and forward-thinking. In practical terms, embracing variance with suited connectors means approaching each hand with a clear strategy and an acceptance of the inherent uncertainty. Players should focus on making the best possible decisions based on the information available, rather than fixating on the outcome of individual hands. This involves considering factors such as position, stack sizes, and opponent tendencies when deciding whether to play suited connectors. By consistently applying their strategy and remaining disciplined, players can mitigate the effects of variance and maintain a steady course through the ups and downs of the game. The journey of playing poker with suited connectors is one of patience and perseverance. Each session offers new experiences and challenges that contribute to a player's growth and understanding of the game. By embracing variance and maintaining a calm demeanor, players can enjoy the process of playing poker and appreciate the strategic depth that suited connectors bring to the table. This approach not only enhances their enjoyment of the game, but also builds a strong foundation for long-term success. Suited connectors are hands like 8-7 of hearts or 9-10 of clubs, which offer players the potential to form straights and flushes. Their true power lies not in the immediate strength of the cards themselves, but in the possibilities they present. Playing these hands effectively requires understanding the dynamics of poker, including position, stack sizes, and the tendencies of opponents. Suited connectors thrive in situations where they can see a flop for a reasonable price and have the potential to hit strong draws. They are speculative by nature, inviting players to engage in a dance of risk and reward. Reflection and self-assessment are crucial components of poker strategy. After each session, players can benefit from reviewing how they played their suited connectors. This practice involves analyzing the decisions made at each stage of the hand, from pre-flop to post-flop actions. By identifying what worked and what didn't, players can refine their strategies and develop a deeper understanding of the game. This continuous process of learning and adaptation is what separates successful players from the rest. It's about recognizing patterns, understanding the nuances of different situations, and applying those insights to future games. Integrating lessons learned from playing suited connectors into future play requires a disciplined approach. Players should focus on the situations where these hands performed well and the conditions that led to their success. For instance, suited connectors tend to perform better in multiway pots, where the potential for hitting a strong hand is higher. Recognizing these scenarios can help players decide when to enter a pot and when to fold. Additionally, understanding the importance of position can enhance decision-making. Suited connectors are more profitable when played from late position, where players have more information about their opponent's actions. The emotional journey of mastering suited connectors is one of growth and resilience. Players often experience a range of emotions, from the excitement of hitting a draw to the frustration of missing one. This emotional roller coaster is part of the game, and managing it effectively is key to long-term success. Developing emotional resilience involves accepting the inherent variance in poker and maintaining a focus on the process rather than the outcomes. Players who can keep their emotions in check are better equipped to make rational decisions, even in high-pressure situations. As players drift to sleep, the lessons of suited connectors can offer a sense of calm and contemplation. These hands teach patience, discipline, and the value of strategic thinking. They invite players to embrace the uncertainty of the game and to find joy in the journey of learning and improvement. By reflecting on their experiences with suited connectors, players can cultivate a mindset that values growth and resilience. This mindset not only enhances their poker skills, but also enriches their understanding of the game's intricacies. Suited connectors remind players of the beauty of poker's complexity. They are a testament to the idea that success in poker is not just about the cards you hold, but how you play them. The insights gained from playing these hands extend beyond the felt, offering valuable lessons in strategy, patience, and self-awareness. As players embrace these lessons, they can approach each game with renewed confidence and a deeper appreciation for the art of poker.